salary approved by the independent board. For the first time, his parts become experience he can use rather than amount someone else uses against him. Tuman also joins the project, offering technical workshop in a boat and engine repair. The brothers work differently. Aras connect easily with angry young people because they recognize what shifts beneath their behavior. Tuman understand tools, plan, and how to turn a broken part into break relationship. One teenager asks which of them is older. Aras answers proudly. Tuman says age does not make him wiser. Aras replies that surviving more birthdays should count for something. Young people laugh and brother begins building shared memories that do not involve police, fire, or evidence. Shabnam asked to volunteer, but Aras refuses at first. He says the fund cannot become a stage for her public repair team and agrees that her role should be limited while the case continues. Shabnam accepts and offers the source without control. Weeks earlier, she would have fought to remain central. Now she understands that contribution does not guarantee closeness. She gives August the keys to an unused company building that can become transitional housing with legal ownership placed under his independent fund. Aras reviews the transfer carefully. When it proves clean, he thanks her. Word is formal, but it is first positive exchange between them. Khan sends another message, this time to Lala, to contain a video for Aras arguing at a former care for home years ago and claims attack an employee. Lala shows Aras immediately. Aras explains that employee had a lock younger child in a cupboard as punishment. Aras broke the door and hit the man when he tried to stop him. The official record describes only Aras' violence. Lala says she believes him, but Aras insists they verify the old complaint rather than build trust only on love. They locate the younger child, an adult, confirm the abuse. This decision turns a possible secret into evidence and further break Khan's method. The former resident's statement also opened an investigation into the care homes. RS feels guilty that never repeated abuse properly. August tells him he was child surviving inside the system, not the adult responsible for fixing it. Human says RS protected someone with the only method he knew. Now he has better method and is using them. RS recognized the pattern connecting their life adult placed impossible duties on children. Judge now the children survive he and human decide the youth program will include dependent complaint sports so no child has to fight alone. Dennis begins filming short interviews for the project but refused to use RS and human strategy as promotional material. She focused on practical needs, identity papers, safe housing, job training, and adult who answer call after office hour. Human helps with sound and pretend he dislikes being directed. Dennis tells him to hold microphone still. Their light arguments become a rare scene where the story breathes. Filming and Newman thanks her for seeing his future instead of only his past. Dennis answered that she expects him to help edit all the terrible sound he created. Affection grows through the sheer work. The lawyer receives analysis of the old villa office fire insurance records showed begun inside a locked cabinet, not from an electrical fault. Cabinet store incoming correspondence Kemal signed their repair report. This strongly support the belief that Sarat letter about Aras was deliberately destroyed. Shabnam listened to the finding and becomes physically ill. She realized the Khan did not simply lie once. He maintained lie the each time truth approach. He asked lawyer whether her failure to search makes her as responsible as him. The lawyer says the court will decide legal responsibility. Moral responsibility is something she must face without requesting a clean number. Timon visits Shabnam after hearing the report. She accepts anger but hearing bring tea. He says he is not bring that work. He remembers out the sat beside his bed during childhood fever and how she taught him to swim. Those memories remain real. He also remembers her telling him never to ask about missing photograph. That harm remained too real. Shabnam says she does not know how to live as both the person who loved him and person who helped erase him. Tillman says perhaps she begins by not choosing between those two. He calls her mother once. Conversation then become quiet. Shabnam does not use the word as proof that everything is repaired. Aras learned Aras learn about the visit and feels a sharp jealousy. He is ashamed to admit he says nothing, but Tillman notices distance instead of waiting for estimate to grow. To directly, Aras confessed that he lost every moment, mothering moment Human receives. Human calls Shabnam's mother makes the lost ear visible. Human does not apologize for loving her. He says he can understand Aras' pain without knowing his own childhood a crime. Aras agrees. He asks for time to manage the feeling. This honest exchange protect both of them from an unfair choice. The prosecutor plans to use the Marina film reserve statement. Kemal record Fatma not censor her testimony to change Khan. Halim is dead, so his full responsibility can never be tested in court. Hakan remains the living center of case. A financial trace suggests the withdrew money through fuel company near a small coastal village. Police prepare a search. Brothers are kept informed but excluded from the operation. This time, Aras accepts the boundary. He tells human they have spent enough night entering dangerous building. Human jokes that Aras has finally learned patience. Aras says he learned that younger brother complained too much. Search find Hakan's temporary room, but not Hakan. On the table lies a map marked with the villa youth home, pro sector of his hospital. He has been planning more than escape. Separate marked circle and all family ceremony where Alim is buried. Humans believe Hakan may have hidden original record inside the grave monuments because police would hesitate to disturb it. Legal search or confirm a sealed tube behind the loose stone. It contains gems, complete a ledger, and a letter Hakan wrote but never sent. In the letter, Hakan addresses Tuman. He says he begins by obeying his father, then spent years convincing himself that raising Demir well could balance the wrong. Every school success, birthday, and family holidays become proof. He used to silence guilt. He admitted he knew Aras lived and told himself that removing humans from the villa could cause greater harm. He writes that love made him weak. Newman says the opposite is true. Love would have required coverage. Hakan used affection to justify control because control protecting letter includes no location, but its tone sounds like farewell. Aras reads only after Newman gives permission. He is surprised by the absence of hatred towards Hakan. Barely writes about Aras at all. The absence hurts more. Aras was not an enemy in Hakan's mind. He was problem kept outside the frame. Humans tell him that being ignored by Hakan does not reduce his importance. Aras answered that he knows, but his old feelings do not listen to logic immediately. The brothers place the letter with the evidence rather than keeping it as private object. Hakan's confession belong in the case. Sarat improves enough to speak with the brother without medical equipment between them. He gives the humans a seal envelope that gems ended with M at Sarah tied it because Halim searched for the ledger and did not know about the letter. Fear kept him from leaving after the fire. It is addressed to both sons. Aras asks why Sarat waited 17 years. Sarat says cowardice can become a daily habit each morning. He planned to speak tomorrow. Tuman says regret is not repair, but giving the letter now is better than dying with it. Sarat accepts the hard answers. The letter contains no crime evidence. James writes because he knows the situation within Akaya is becoming dangerous. He tells Aras to protect Damir but warns him that them being older does not mean carrying every burden alone. He tells Damir to listen to Aras but not copy every foolish idea. He says brothers are not to have one person, they are two complete people who choose to stand near each other. The world feels written for the conflict they are living now. Aras cries openly. Tuman's old is shoulder. The embarrassed that Aras waited for finally happens without anyone noticing. Reading Tuman asks whether Aras still feel responsible for falling. After reading Tuman asks whether Aras still feel responsible for falling to same, Aras says yes, although he knows he was child. Tuman says the letter proves their father never asked Aras to be parent or rescuer. He asked them to stand near each other. Aras cannot change the fire, but he can stop treating every danger as a test. He must solve alone. Aras asks whether Tuman will also stop hiding plans to protect him. They agree the promise is not romantic or perfect. Both will break smaller habits while trying to keep the larger to the pre-sector schedules a public hearing related to false identity in company records. Shabna will testify. Hakan sends her message hours before the hearing. It includes a photograph of old family pendant. Tuman was a child. Tuman was a child and location. He says he has a proof that could reduce her responsibility and chose Halim for the entire plan. If she comes alone, he will give it to her. If she tells police, he will destroy the proof. Despair for Shabnam knows it is likely to trap. She also knows I can't understand her deepest weakness, the hope of proving that Rush's choice was partly forced. Shabnam does not tell Tuman and Rara. She writes a note and leaves it inside Tuman's old room, then drives the location. Her secrecy appears to repeat everything she promised to change, yet her reason is more complicated. Hakan also threatens her daughter, whose exercise has remained private. Shabnam believes involving police may place another innocent person at risk. She goes to an empty seaside restaurant closed for the season. Hakan waits inside, thinner and exhausted but still controlled. He says the family can survive if the withdraws her statement and claims are pressured her. Shabnam Fiza Khan shows her a live video of her daughter's living work in another city. A man follows at distance. He remarked the Marina film, James Ledger and Riza's account book. Shabnam says the originals are with pro sectors and cannot be recovered. Hakan says copies and testimony will still be weakened if she states evidence was changed. The case will become uncertain. He asks whether protecting strangers matter more than saving the family. David Shabna replies that he again calling control protection. She tells him Tumor left because of the lie, not because of Faraz Khan face changes for the first time. Anger breaks through his jam calm. Tuman finds Shabnam's note when he visits the villa before the hearing. It says she's going to end a bargain that began at the hospital. He does not give a location to Tuman's caller, but the phone is off. Aras sees his fear and asks what happened. Tumans give him not immediately, keeping their promise. Noor check company vehicle roads and find Shabnam car near the closed restaurant. Police are alerted to the brother Lala and Dennis remain at the villa command point instead of rushing blindly. Tuman says every part of him wants to go, but he will not give a Khan the uncontrolled reaction he expects. Then a video call arrives on the villa screen. Khan stands beside Shabnam, who is tied to a chair but appears injured. He says the brother have 1 hour to bring the hidden copies of evidence to the old marina. If police appear, Shabnam and Sarah daughter will suffer. Humans tell Khan is no longer his father. Khan answers that blood has made human cruel and ungrateful. Ara step into V and says no, blood did not make the chance. Khan actions did. Hakan smiles and says the brother finally agrees on something. He ends the call. Lala's replays the video and one frame at a time. An arrow line of moving light crosses the ceiling behind every 12 seconds. She first thinks it comes from passing cars, but the resultant restaurant has no road on that side. Noor explained that the old marina lighthouse and a beam across the storage building at the same interval. A bell can also be heard beneath Hakan's voice. The main Berina bells replaced years ago, but the abandoned repaired dock still has the older, deeper sound. Video was not recorded at the restaurant where Shabnam's car was found. Hakan moved her to a storehouse under the old dock. This discovery saved the police from searching the wrong building and proved Hakan accepted the family to follow obvious clues without the checking. The pro sector prepares two packages that look like the evidence Hakan requested. Ones contain blank paper and tracking dust. Other contain harmless copies mixed with the listening device. RS disliked the idea of bringing every anything that could help Hakan challenge the case, but the lawyer explained that original are secure and every page in package carries small changes that make it legally useless. Timhan asks whether Hakan will notice. Noor says he may, which is why the package is only way to gain minutes. The real plan depends on entering the storehouse through a drainage chemical beneath the dock. Ayla Khan watches the road. Police divers can reach the channels from the dark side of the bay. RS says he should carry the package because the Khan has always sees him as the easier target to provoke. Team says the Khan asks for both brothers and harm Shabnam if only one appears. Their argument begins to rise. They both stop. They recognize the old pattern before it controls them. Instead of deciding through pride, they list each person knows human understand Hakan's voice, habits, signal. RS reads dangers quietly and can keep Hakan focused through confrontation. They will approach together, but humans will speak first. While RS watches exist and Shabnam condition if the plan changes, neither will act without saying the other's name and receiving an answer. The rules sounds simple, yet it is designed to prevent silent heroic choices that nearly kill them. Before inside the storeroom, Shabnam works at the rope around her wrist while Hakan checks the window. He tied it loosely because he still imagines their partner performing a family argument, not captor and prisoner. Shabnam uses these belief with the she speaks gently and asks whether he remembers. He tied it loosely because he still imagines their partner performing a family argument, not captain and prisoner. Shabnam uses that belief. She speaks gently and asks whether he remembered the first night human slept without waking from a nightmare. Hakan faced softened despite himself. Shabnam says they could have built a true family if they had searched for Aras and confessed early. Hakan claims the truth would have taken to human says. Shabnam replies that fear took him away. In the end, Hakan asks she loses one hand. She does not try to run because the door is alarmed. Instead, she slips to humans child pendant beneath a crate, leaving a sign for anyone entering through the lower channel. Noor studies an older marina plan and finds that drainage channel divides beneath the storehouse. One branch reaches the dock floor while the other ends below a fuel room. If police choose the wrong side, opening the door could alert Hakan or release dangerous flames. Noor remembers Hakan once saying the building we had a hidden dry passage used during rose storms. He searches company maintenance bills and find a repair for a manual gate than ever appeared on public plans. Martin calls the retired worker who completely re-explained how to open the gate from below using three turns left and one turns right. This small detail performs essential knowledge. I can't treat it as an important work information now creates the safest path toward Shabnam. Dennis reaches her daughter Alif through the prosector. Alif is already inside a police station after noticing the man following her. The image of Khan shows Shabnam was live earlier in the day, but the current threat is false. Alif agrees to send her father message through the secure hospital line so he knows he's safe. This remove one part of Khan's power, but the team decide not to tell him yet. Shabnam learned during the exchange they may use the face to resist. If a Khan learns first, he may replace the empty threat. Real one, Danish feels uncomfortable using information strategically because secrecy caused the entire tragedy. August explained that temporary silence used to protect an active rescue, different from permanent lie used to control a life. The difference lies in purpose, time, and accountability. Before leaving, Aras places a copy of James' letter inside his jacket. Laila asks why he's carrying something so valuable into danger. Aras says it is a copy, but the words help him remember that not required to carry every burden alone. Timon's here and closes his hand. If nothing is no have wooden but pendant, the real pendant is still inside the storehouse, but remembering the shape, weight, and place near the heart. Calm is well. They prepare to leave. Then Laila gives Aras to track a Danish check Timon's microphone. Neither young woman makes a dramatic promise about waiting forever. They give clear instructions, remain in one channel, follow the plan, and come back. Love this in this moment is practical because practical care is what gives them a future. As the brother enters the car, Human admits that he's afraid Shabnam went willingly because part of her still wants to save Khan. Ara says both things may be true. She may have chosen the meeting and still needs rescue from what happened next. A bad decision does not person's right to her be protected. Humans ask whether Aras can truly risk himself for her. After everything, Aras says he is not doing it to spare Shabnam or earn humans' love. He is doing it because a Khan must not decide the guilty person is disposable. Justice means bringing people back alive so they can answer for choices. Humans look at him and realizes Aras is no longer the boy who believes every problem ended in a fight. The brother beside him has turned pain into a rule that protects even someone he may never forgive. As brother Tuman admits that he is afraid Shabnam went willingly because part of her still wants to save Akana. Says both being may be true. She may have chosen the meeting and still need rescue from what happened next. A bad decision does not remove a person's right to be protected. Tuman asks whether Aras can truly risk himself for her after everything. Aras says he is not doing it to repay Shabnam or Tuman's loves. He is doing it because the Khan must not decide that a guilty person is disposable. Justice means bringing people back alive so they can answer for choices. Humans look at him and realize Aras is no longer the boy who believed every problem ended in a fight. Brother beside him has a pain into a role that protects him and someone he may never forgive. The section closes with brother facing a danger designed to hide every loyalty they have built. Human love Shabnam and cannot leave her with a Khan. Aras wants justice but will not ask the human to sacrifice the woman who raised him. Shabnam's decision to go alone may look like betrayal, yet her to sacrifice the woman who raised him. Shabnam's decision to go alone not suggests the intended to challenge the Khan rather than protect him. Lala studies the video for location detail. Dennis contacts her daughter through protected channels and learns she has reached the police safely, meaning part of the Khan's threat is a recording. Nure opens the old marina plans. August reminds everyone that Khan's greatest weapon is the belief that only one person can be saved at a time. Aras places a hand on Timon's shoulder and says they will not choose between mother and truth. They will bring both out together. Timan answers by calling him brother without hesitation and to turn towards the plan that will test whether their new blood bond can survive the family's oldest bargain. The marina operation begins under a moonlit sky. Harris and Timan drives toward the old dog while the evidence package. In the next episode of the 17th story begins in the quiet minute before sunrise when boredom looks peaceful even though every important person in the town is carrying a secret. Ara sits alone near the shore with Sarhat's weak voice repeating in his mind. He remembers the broken sound, the unfinished letter, and the fear in Sarat's eyes before Hakan took him away. At first letter, unfinished, appeared to make no sense. Aras returned them in the sad, wipes them away, writes them again in a different order. Then the answer suddenly becomes clear. The name is Tim, and Aras stops breathing for a moment because the answer is both close and impossible. He came to Boston to find Damiri at every road has led him back to the young man. Hates him, challenge him, and find Damiri at every road has led him back to the young man who hates him, challenge him, and somehow understand his anger better than anyone else. Aras does not accept the idea at once. He tells himself that Sarat may have been warning him about him and not identifying him. Still, a tells deeper part of him knows that such has changed. Tamir may not be done in another town or behind another false address. Tamir may have standing front of him all this time under a different name when Aras watches Tioman Lela watches Aras. She has finally understood that his arrival in border was an accident. His treated interest in the Kaya family has a hidden reason. Her trust has damaged. Not because Aras came with secret, but because he allowed her to stand beside him without knowing to the danger. She approaches him near and allow she approaches him near and allow in in the allow in the secret Akaya family accident reason her trust has been damaged not because Aras came with secret but because beside him without knowing the danger. She approaches him near the old road above the marina, asks her one simple question: why is he still there? Aras tries to avoid the truth by saying he has unfinished work, but Layla no longer accepts half answer. She tells him that love cannot survive inside a locked room. If he wants her beside him, he must open the door. Aras looks at her and almost tells her everything he wants to say, that Damir was his little brother, that his friend William Tamir had died, and that every clue now points toward him, and yet he sees how closely Lala is connected to Akaya's and fear wins. He says only that he is searching for someone from his family. Lala hears the honesty in his voice, but she also hears the missing part. She walks away without promising to return. Tuman, meanwhile, has begun his own search. He knows that Shibnam and Khans are hiding something about his past. Their answers are too careful, their anger arrives too quickly. Every old photograph seems to begin after the same missing year. Tumans enter the storage room at the villa while the house is busy. For school paper, hospital bills, boxes of farm pictures, but nothing from his earliest childhood. Bottom of a locked cabinet, he discovers a ball of blue sweater wrapped in a paper. It is far too old and small to belong to the life member. Inside the cloth is faded label with one letter is still clear. Timmons feels a cold dear fear move through him. He does not know whether the letter means anything, but Shibnam enters before he can examine it. If her face changes when she sees the sweater, she does not shout, frighten anymore. She slowly takes it from his hand and says it belonged to a child she once tried to help. Tioman asks why it was locked among his private records. Shabnam answered that some memories do not observe to open. Tioman replies that a memory is not hers to bury if belongs to him. Shabnam realizes that Silas is no longer there. She goes to Hakan and tells him that Tioman is close to the Hakan believes that problem can still be controlled. He says Tioman is young, emotional, and easy to destroy. Shabnam disagrees. She knows Tioman's stubborn nature and she also knows where it came from. Their arguments reveal the first crack in their partnership. Shabnam wants to move Sarat far from boredom and persuade Timon to travel abroad for a few weeks. Hakan wants to frighten Ara so badly that he leaves on his own. Shabnam warns him that force has something precious to lose. His meaning is clear. Lala can be used against Ara. Shabnam does not approve, but she does not stop him either. Her greatest weakness is still the same. She will allow almost any wrong act if she believes it will keep the family she built from falling apart. Noor hears part of this conversation from the hallway. She has spent too long being treated as a threat, a mistake, and a person who can be pushed aside. She now understands that Sarat is the center of the secret, and Hakan fears that what he knows, Noor does not yet know whether helping Aras will protect her or destroy her, but she destroyed her. Information is the only power available to her. She waits until Hakan leaves, enters his study, and searches the desk. She has finds no clear document, but she discovers a key type beneath drawer. The key is marked with the number of private room and a small clinic outside. Nura takes a photograph to return it before any notice. For the first time, she is not nursing tells her she is acting because she sees a chance to change the balance. She sends the photograph to an unknown number Short message telling the receiver to find Aras. The receiver is August, one of the few adults Aras still trusts. School of Dennis noticed that human is distracted. She tries to make them laugh, but he reacts. Tell her to stop treating everything like a game. Dennis is at although she hides it behind a joke. Later, she follows him when he leaves class and sees him meeting an old employee of the Kai family near the harbor. Chloe Riza once worked as a driver and left suddenly. Fatima asks whether Riza remembers the day first came to the villa. Riza becomes nervous and says Tillman was born into the family like another child. Tillman knows date was replaced. Dennis watches from distance, realizes that Tillman is not chasing a small family. But Tillman recognizes them as people who work for a car. He pulls Dennis behind a finishing for a few minutes as the two fight together in silence. The danger removes every joke from Dennis' face. Riza manages to escape, but Tillman and Dennis are seen. The men follow them toward the old market. Tillman tells Dennis to run in the other direction, but she refuses to leave him. They move through narrow streets, jump over stack rails, reach a close country yard with no exit. Tillman prepared to fight, even though she knows they are outnumbered. At that moment, Aras is arrived. He had followed Tillman. That noticing Hakan men near the school, Aras created a distraction by pushing a fruit into crates. Streets in that opens a side gate and lead to Tillman and Dennis through the three escapes on an old delivery motorbike while Dennis squeezed between the two young men who still do not trust each other. The station would be funny at any other time, but nobody laughs until they are safely outside. When they finally stop, Dennis began to laugh from rigor and relief. Timas looks at Harris and asks why he helped. Harris says he did not help him. And Tuman answers that this is the same thing. Neither is ready to Neither is ready to the name strange beyond forming between them. Lala does not want for Aras respect. She goes to the youth home and speaks with August. She does not ask him to Aras betray Aras. Instead, she asks whether Aras is using her. August tells her that Aras does not know how to use people because the hardly knows how to. So he says Aras come to boredom, carrying grief that began when he has child. Lala asks whether that grief is connected to the Kai. August remain quiet, which is answer enough. Lala leaves with greater concern but also greater sympathy. She begins to understand why Aras look at Yemen with anger one moment, sadness the next. On her way home, she receives a message from an unknown number. It contains a photograph Aras entering the Kaya villa at night and warning that he's not who she thinks he is. Message the part of a Kaya's plan, but Lala does not know. For the first time, she wonders Aras willing for her were only a way to get close to the family. Aras reaches the clinic by using the key information. August, if the building is small, private, almost empty, enters through a near door. After closing the time and finds the room number, Sarath is inside, weak but conscious with the guard sleep in the corridor. Aras whispers that he only needs one answer. Sarath photographed a human on his phone and asked whether this is damaged. Sarath looked at the picture, then at Aras. His eyes filled with regret before he can sleep. Alarm sound. Aras thinks the guard has awakened. Alarms come from Sarath medical machine. Sarath struggles to breathe. Aras has a choice. Keep asking the question or call for help and risk being caught. He chooses Sarath life. He shouts for an earth and hides the behind bathroom door while staff enter. Aras here enough. It is not legal proof yet. It is the closest thing to confirmation has been received. Hakan arrives at the clinic minutes later. Aras escapes through a laundry window, but Hakan sees the open door and understands that what happened. He enters Sarath's rooms and asks what he could. Ishtar turned his face away. Hakan's calm manners disappear, reminds her the old promise. Says many people will suffer it. Truth comes out. Sarat answers that people are already suffering because truth was buried. Hakan ordered the clinic to move again, but Sarat secretly removes a small memory card from beneath his pillow and pushes it into the blanket. A young cleaner later finds it. The cleaner is Martin, who works evening to his help his family. He does not know that the card contained, but he knows. Sarah looked frightened. Martin slipped it into his pocket rather than giving it to the clinic manager. The next morning, Shabnam prepares a family breakfast. Avis, nothing is wrong. She believes normal routines can hold a broken house together. Timon arrives late and places the blue sweater on the table. He took it back from storage room and the night he asked Hakan and Shabnam to explain the letter D. Hakan laughs and calls the question childish. Timon does not move. He says he checked his earliest records and found missing pages. He asks why there are no photographs of Shabnam holding him as the baby. Shabnam says Mary Hoyoka, who had lost during a human child named Amir, was reported after the fight. Human says the date matches after year his own family history begins. Room becomes silent. Hakan breaks the silence by accusing Aras of filling head with lies. Tillman notices that Hakan attacks Aras instead of answering the question. Shamram tries a softer approach. He tells Yemen that families are created by love, not document. Yemen asks why she is speaking about the meaning of family when he has only asked about us, but her answer has revealed more than she intended. He asked directly whether he was adopted. Shamnam says not, but the word comes too quickly. Tillman stands, pushes his chair back, and says that he will find the truth without them. Hakan blocks his path and demands respect. Tillman looks at him and says respect cannot be uttered by liar. Tillman sees fear in Shabnam's face, but he also sees real love. This makes the situation harder. Not easier. If the felt nothing, he could simply leave because he knows she loves him. He must now ask what terrible thing she did in the name of his love. Aras waits for Lala outside the small cafe where he works. He has decided to tell her enough of the truth to repair their trust. For he can begin. Lala shows him photograph of his secret visit to Villa Sarah. She asks whether every moment between them was part of his search. Aras says no, but she told her Lala explained that she did news family argument and that human has been asking about a missing child. Lala listened without interrupting anything. She asked the most painful question: did he come close to her because she could lead him to a fire? Aras says he first spoke to her because of such, but he stayed her because of the honesty her she had. It is the first complete answer he has given. Lala walks away to think Aras does not follow because she deserves space. We spend afternoon remembering every quiet meeting, every argument, every tender moment. Some memories now look different, but not all of them false. She knows how Aras looks when he thought nobody was watching. She remembers his fear when she was in danger and where he protected children at youth home without expecting praise. Person can begin with reason and remain for another. Leila understand that, but understanding does not remove the wound. She decided that Aras must prove his through trust through action, not another emotional speech. If he lies again, she will leave without hearing an explanation. Aras agree. Their first year plan is to find Riza before Hakan's men do. Tillman has already begun the same search, and Dennis has refused to let him continue on this created an uneasy group of four. The meet in the Infinity House before the coast. Tillman immediately object to Aras begun there. Aras says Riza may know something. Damir Tillman asks why Damir matters so much to him. Lala looks at Aras, reminding him of his promise. Aras says Damir is his brother. Tillman laughs, but there is no vulnerability. When he asks whether Aras thinks he is Damir, Aras answer carefully. He thinks it is possible, but we claim it would without proof. Tillman at the mention of Sarat, Tillman's anger changes into fear. Dennis asks what proof they need. Aras says they need is a statement, Sarat record, and a legal DNA test. Tillman refuses the test. He says his name is come Tillman, that no stranger can arrive and take it away. Aras tells him he does not want to take anything. He only wants to know whether the brother he loves survived. Humans answer that being loved by memory does not make him that. Sentence strikes Aras deeply. Is that his search was made think of Damir as a small child. He disappeared, not as the young man Damir will have become. If Human is his brother, then Aras must learn who he is now. That itself is progress. Pro group learns that Riza is hiding of an abundant boat repair yard. Lala obtains the address from an old friend of her father while Dennis borrows a car without permission. Their journey has moments of nervous humor because Dennis drives too fast. Humans complains constantly. Aras keeps checking whether they are followed. Lala notices how similar Aras and human sound when they are annoyed. Both insist they are different, yet both tap their fingers in the same rhythm and both refuse to admit fear. When they reach the yard, they find Sancho is gone, but phone lies under rock. When the last answered voice message is addressed to human, in it, Reza says he carried a child away from the fire many years ago. He says the order came from someone inside the Kaya family. The recording ends before he gives a name. Tuman listens voice the second time. His hand shakes. He asks Aras what he remembers about the fire. Aras decides describe a smoke, broken window, his mother voice, and Demi crying from another room. He remembers trying to go back, but an adult pulled him away. He does not know whether the adult was rescuer or person who separated them. Tuman has no clear memory of, but he has always feared locked rooms and a smell of burnt clothes. He used to wake from dream in which someone child a name that did not feel like his own. He never told anyone because the Shyam did said dreams were only dreams. Now the fold fear has a shape. Humans returned the photograph quickly as though it meant to be burned. Outside the repair yard, Hakan's men arrived this time. Group is ready. Lala the already sent their location to August and asked him to contact the police officer if she does not call with 15 minutes. Still, the man will block the road and pound the pan march to fight. But Lala tells him the recording matters more than pride. Human create a plan using yard all think machine. Dennis RS start the engine with the two men drops a suspended board frame between them and attackers. RS uses the movement to lead everyone through the backyard, the escape, and succeed because each person does a different part. And human realize that RS did not try to the hero alone. When they reach the mad police siren approach, a calm and disappear. Officer arrive, but the group now has recording safely copied of several phones. RS follow only as far as the doorway. He does not chase the human into the street. Lela joins him and says waiting may be harder than fighting. RS admits that he wants to grab at human, tells him every childhood story until he remembers, but that would be for RS comfort, not humans. Lela sees a change in him. He's beginning to understand that finding a brother is not the same as recovering an object. She tells him that human may need to reject the truth before he can face it. RS asks whether she's still rejecting. Lela says she's angry, but she's still there. She is not ready to return their entire closeness, yet he takes his hand for a moment. The small gesture gives him more hope than a dramatic promise would. At the villa, Khan begins the destroying wallpaper. He removes file from a hidden safe and humans them in a metal container near the garden house. Shabnam catches him and pulls one page from the flames. It contains a payment to the private hospital. She demands to know whether Aras was really believed dead. Hakan says he did what was necessary to protect everyone. Shabnam presses him until he admits that what he learned Anas had survived, but he kept the information from her. He feared that if the brother was returned, the investigation into the fire would reopen. Shabnam is horrified. She truly believes that the question expresses the selfish part of her love. Shabnam cannot answer. She kept human but because she loved him, but also because she would not bear to lose him. Hakan says they are both guilty. Shabnam implies that their shared guilt does not mean equal guilt. Hakan wants her not to become weak now. He says Arash will take Tuman's way, destroy their name, and send them both to prison. Shabnam says Tuman is not a possession that can be taken. Hakan laughed bitterly and asked why. She said if she believes that again she has no answer. After her leaves, Shabnam keeps the half-burned paper page. She hides it inside a book rather than returning it to the fight. This is the first clear move against Hakan. It does not make her innocent, but it shows that fear is no longer her only guide. She is beginning to understand that saving a relationship with human may require confessing that every act they created it. The search for reserve accounts back Booker takes Aras to Malala and Danish to an old boat stored on land beyond the marina. The boat was once called Mavi Ruya, but the name has been painted over. Reza repaired it for Hakan shortly after the fire. They searched beneath seats, inside damaged wall, and under the engine cover. The atmosphere is tense because Tuman has agreed to help without accepting that he is damaged. They find nothing for nearly an hour. Then Tuman remembers that old port builders sometimes hide papers beneath removable nameplates. He checks the place where the original name was fixed and discovers a narrow metal box. Inside is a white damaged notebook and a hospital bracelet wrapped in plastic. Bracelet carries the name, Damir, and date after the fight. Tuman states that it but refuses to touch it. As pick it up with shaking hand. The notebook lists payment from account to Visa. Doctor and an official whose name is shortened initially does not explain every action, but the dates create clear path from the fight to the private hospital and then to a Kaya Villa. Leila photographs everywhere. Dennis Kalogazan asks him to bring a lawyer before they give the evidence to police. The group has learned from Hakan Power that evidence must be protected before it is revealed. Plastic is cold, he says the object grew. A child with that name was at hospital, not that his child. RS agrees again. He does not force the conclusion. Their careful movement and when smoke begins rising from rear of boatshed. Someone has locked the main door and started a fire outside. Smell sends Tuman into sudden panic. He cannot move. The present disappears and buried memory pushes the full of smoke, small and reaching towards him, and a voice calling Damir. RS sees Tuman freeze and understand However, as he gives the notebook to Lala, tell Danish to find Damir another exit and move slowly toward Tiaman. He does not about. He says Tiaman's name, not rapid, and tells him to look at her face. Cannot breathe. Aras take his hand and repeat they are living together for 1 second. Tiaman gap his sleeves exactly as Damir did as well. Aras feels that past return, but he keeps his focus on living person. Front of him, Dennis finds a loose panel near the floor. Lala kick it until woods break. Smoke fills air shed as they crawl towards the opening. A burning beam falls behind Aras and Tuman, cutting them off from the others. Tuman recovers enough to help lift a metal frame while Aras clears the path. Their escape depends on both of them. Outside, Lala and Dennis pull from one side. Two young men push from the other. They emerge movement before part of the rolls. Falls, the notebook is saved, but the boat and many remember clues are destroyed. Hakan arrives with security men pretending that he asks whether Aras and other fired this accusation. Dennis finds a loose panel near the floor. Lala and Dennis pull from one side with the two young men push from other. They emerge movement before part of the roof falls. Two men refuses. Police and firefighters arrive. Hakan tries to control the story, but Lala has already sent copies of the notebook photographs to the liars. She tells the police that the group was locked inside. Hakan claims the outlaw of a jam, yet Dennis points to fresh spark around the outside. Look, for the first time, Hakan cannot simply remove the evidence. He still has influence, but two men witnesses are fresh. Shabnam arrives and sees two men covered in ash beside Arasi. Fear is real. She refuses present. Shabnam arrives and sees two men covered in ash. Shabnam begins to cry. Hakan tells to her say nothing. Two turns to him and says his silence is already an answer. At the hospital, the four young people are treated to smoke spray. Lala sits beside Aras while nurse checks the burn on his arm. She asks why he used human present name during the rescue, and the memory must have felt so strong. Aras, Aras says because Tuman was the person trapped in the fire, not the child in his memory. Lala tells him that answer proves he is ready to become a brother again. Aras says he is not your Tuman will let him. The relationship becomes too real because Aras is no longer asking Lala to believe world without evidence. He's showing her the person he wants to be. In another hospital room, Dennis Kelly in Ash from Tuman. Here, where the Lord Tuman says, remember someone calling the name Damage he does not know whether it was a true memory or an idea planted by everything he heard. Danny says he does not need to decide tonight. Tuman asks whether Aras looked disappointed when he still refused to accept the truth. Danny says Aras looked afraid of losing him, but he did not look angry. Tuman remembers Aras choosing to save Sarat rather than demand an answer, helping him escape Hakan's plan and using the name Tuman in the fire. His action make it harder to dismiss him as an enemy. Tuman process he may agree to DNA test, but only if he controls when and where it happened. Dennis promised to spot that just Tuman returned to the villa, but refuses to sleep there. He packed a bag, tells Shabnam he will stay with Dennis' family for a few days. Shabnam asks for a 5 minutes to explain. Hakan interrupts and says Tuman is not living while the family is under investigation. Tuman answers that this is exactly why he's leaving. Hakan reaches for his arm and Tuman pulls away. Aras arrives at the gate not to tell Tuman, but Dennis asks him to remain nearby in case where Hakan accuses him of stealing his son. Aras says nobody can steal a person. Tuman hears both men and make his own choice. This proved to Tuman and that Aras means what he should said about freedom. Shabnam watches the car leave and finally turn on Hakan. She says his control has cost them Tuman trust. Hakan says Tuman will trust when life outside become uncomfortable. Shabnam understands. Hakan still sees love as a dependent. She tells him Tuman may return to her, but he will never return to the lie. Hakan asks whether she plans to confess. Shabnam says she plans to learn the full truth first, including what Hakan did without her. She shows him the hospital photograph. His expression confirms her suspicion. He tries to take it, but she has already made copies. She warns that if he arms Aras, Tuman, Sarat, Riza, Noor, or anyone helping them, she will give everything she knows to the police. Hakan looks at the woman once who shared his secret and realizes she may now become his most dangerous enemy. Danny's out team and cannot sleep. He opened the old photograph Aras and admit that Aras sent him after the fight. This time he studies the background instead of children. Painted wooden bird hang beside the window. Team and owns the same, but Shabnam told him it came from market, but it has been in his room for long as he can remember. He takes it down and finds faint writing beneath one. His body goes cold. Object that once seemed ordinary are turning into witness. He remembers a woman's hand placing the bird above a bed. Iris making bird sound to make a small child laugh. The memory lasts only a second, yet it feels different from real because it includes a smell, sound, and warmth of sunlight. Humans call Aras and ask him to meet at the beach, and before dawn, Aras arrives expecting anger. Human places the warrior, but between them, Aras recognized it immediately. Their father made it to form a piece of an old boat and planned it blue. Aras thought it had burned in the fight. Human asked what fight. Written under the wing, Aras replies their mother wrote for damage, so you will always find the way home. Human looks toward the dark sea. He says he remembered the bird before Aras explained. This is the first time he offers a memory without being guided. Aras eyes will tears, but he does not embarrass him. He waits. Tillman says he will take DNA test. He sets the condition the sample will be clinically independent hospital. The result will come both of them at the same time. No one will ask anything until he's ready. Aras agrees before Tillman finishes. Tillman then asks what will happen if the result confirms their brother. Aras says nothing will happen unless Tillman chooses. He will not demand a new name, a new home, or new loyalty. He only wants the chance to know. Tillman asks what happens if the result is negative. Aras says he will still help expose your used human missing part because the truth matters even if he does not give Aras what he wants. This answer removes the last fear that Aras cares only recovering a diamond. They go to the hospital separately to protect the test from a Khan. Lala accompanies Aras while Dennis accompanies Human. Occurs and the lawyer arranges a process. Nurse seals the sample in front of everyone, record each step. No dramatic speech is made. Power of movement lies in quietness. Aras watches the label with his name placed beside the Humans. Humans watches Aras face for the first time. Both understand the answer will change them, but neither know how. Hakan learns about the DNA test through a contact with the hospital. He calls someone and orders the result to be changed. The test refuses because the lawyer created a independent chain of records. Hakan then considers more dangerous plan. If he cannot change the result, he can make sure Timon never receives it. Shibnam oversees hears enough to understand his intention. She secretly warns the liar and tells him to move the sample. This is the first time she directly protects the investigations. Instead, she accepts the real protection sometimes happen without demanding love as payment. Section reaches its final moment when Martin receives a new message from Sarath number. Message contain only a location and the word second merit record matching tells SK and together they contact August. The location is an old water tower outside boredom. Aras Lala, Humans and Dennis go there with the liar and two police officers. Inside a loose stone they find a seal. It contains a copy of Damer's original hospital intake from a photograph taken on the day after the fight. The picture shows a frightened child asleep in the hospital bed. Wooden bluebird rests beside him. On the back, Sarath wrote that child woke unscarred for his brother Aras. Stevens holds the photograph for a long time. He does not need the DNA result to understand that child is him. The face is younger Bruce and partly covered by a bandage, but the small, small scar. Hakan then consider a more dangerous plan. As the group leaves the tower, the layer receives a call from hospital that the DNA result earlier ready than expected. Everyone stopped. Human asked the layer to put the phone on the speaker, but the layer says the results could be person because someone attempted to access the file. He decided that the result will be open at the villa in front of entire family. He no longer wants the to live in another room. The final scene of this sense action takes place in a Kaya living room. Hakan stands beside the window. Shabnam sits with burned payment page in her hand. Noor arrives with the hospital photographs. Lala, Dennis, Jogos, and the lawyer stand behind the two young men. Tuman places the sealed DNA result on the table but does not open it at once. Tuman does not move. Hakan says Shabnam is confused and tries to take the environment. Tuman stops him and says the time for choosing his truth is over. He opens the result, read the first line, and look directly at Aras. The section and before the speak with the clear understanding that next word will not only confirm blood, they will decide whether two young men separated by fire can become the difficult work of becoming brothers again. Outside, dawn rises over boredom, but nobody in the room feels the new day yet. For them, morning will begin only after Tuman chooses the first name gives to Aras in the moment. The silence belongs to them, not their parents. The result confirmed that Aris and Tioman are brother with a certainty that leaves no space for another explanation. Tioman reads the number twice, then folds the page as if making it smaller could make its meeting easier to hold. Everyone waits for him to speak. Aras does not move closer. Shabnam begins to say his name, but Tioman raises one hand and asks her to remain silent. He looks at Aras and says that test proves their blood Share blood, but it does not tell him what to feel. Aras answers he is not human, then says a word he avoids since the search began. That reply matters more than result because it leaves control with the person whose life has been controlled for years. Hakan attacks the test at once. He claims the sample were mixed, the lawyer was paid, and Aras planned the entire scene to gain access to Kaya name. The lawyer explained that two laboratories tested separate samples and produced matching results. Hakan says money can buy any paper. Humans towards him and asks whether money also bought the hospital record. Riza silencer at fear. Hakan tells him that family should stand together when strangers attack. Human answers that RS is no longer stranger in the room. The sentence changes the balance. Hakan sees that denying the truth will only push Human farther away. So he changes his method. He says perhaps Human was born as Tamil, but Akaya gave him everything. He points to the villa, the education, and the year of care. Human asks whether a comfortable prison become a home because the walls are expensive. Shabnam flinches because she knows the question is also meant for her. Shabnam begins the confession carefully. She says the first saw Damir in a private hospital after the fire. He was injured, frightened, and unable to give more than a few broken details. Sarah told her that the parents had died and that the older brother was also believed that Shabnam had recently passed through a period of deep grief. One lonely child reached a part of her that close. She visited again, brought forth, and sat near his bed while he slept. She insists that she did not enter the hospital planning to steal a child. At first, she wanted to help him recover and make sure he was placed somewhere safe. I can't stand in the corner without correcting her. Timon's heard real emotions in her voice, but he also sees the missing pieces. He asks when she help became ownership. Shabnam says the officials were preparing to send him into temporary care. She believes the would be lost. Khan offered another part. They would become his family and protect him forever. Tuman asks whether the adoption was legal. Shabnam lowers his eyes. His silence says no. Hakan interrupts and claims the documents were only made faster because the system was filing. The child lawyer warns him that he is admitting to a serious crime. Hakan tells that lawyers to leave his house. Timan says lawyer states it is the first order he gives inside the villa that Hakan cannot easily overrule. Shabnam continues. She admits that the name Damir was removed from the file because Hakan and people connected to the first night search for the child new name would keep him safe. Humans replies that protection without truth become another kind of harm. He asks whether she ever had tried to learn if Aras was alive. Shabnam says Hakan told her there was no surviving relatives. Tuman looks at Hakan and the room becomes colder. Hakan says he received incorrect information. Shabnam produces the half-burned payment page and the photograph Noor bought. She pointed the date 3 days after the fire and asks why Hakan met Sarat and Riza without her. Hakan says she was handling legal detail. Noor asks why legal detail required cash payment and false him. Hakan turns his anger on her, calling her an outsider who has always wanted to damage Shabnam. Noor answers that being an outsider hyper her. See what the family refused to see. Hakan steps towards her, but Tibet block in the movement is instinctive. In the past, Timan might have defended Hakan against Noor. Now he protects Noor from him. Hakan recognizes the change and becomes quiet. His silence is not surrender to his calculation. Tuman leaves the villa with the folded DNA result, the wooden bird, and one sample bag. He refuses to stay with Aras because moving directly from one family to another would feel like being passed between honor. He also refuses to the kayak cart and is walk with him towards the main road. Aras remain behind because he understands the request without hearing. Shabnam calls after Tuman and asks where he will go. He says he will stay in a simple room above Ago's office until he decides. Shabnam asks whether he will come back. Tuman answers that he does not know which place the word back mean anymore. The sentence leaves her standing at the gate with all wealth around her and no power to bring home. RS watches from a distance as Tillman leaves. He expects information to create joy, but the joy arrives mixed with guilt. He has found damage, yet discovery has destroyed Tillman's peace. Lala tells him the peace was already false. RS says false peace may still fear safer than a painful truth. Lala agrees, but she reminds him that Tillman closed the part test and public opening. He is not only a victim of the truth, he is also the person leading it now. Aras asks what he should do next. Lala says he should stop asking how to make human accept him and start asking what human need. For today, that need is distance. Aras accepts this and returns it to youth home instead of following. Next morning, Tuman wakes in the small room above Olga's office. The place contains a narrow bed, old desk, window facing a wall. It is nothing like his room at Villa, yet plain feel honest. No object has hidden story chosen by someone else. He places a wooden bird on the desk and August brings tea, but does not ask answer. Human finally says he has two names and feels both belongs to different people. It needs to be understood before it chooses what he does. Human asks whether Aras has been waiting outside. August says no. Tuman appeared surprised and slightly disappointed. August explained that Aras called once to ask if Tuman was safe, then respected the request for space. Tuman looks at the wall and says he spent days believing Aras would try to claim him. Now Aras' patience feels almost more difficult because it gives him no reason to keep fighting. August asks whether he wants to see Aras. Tuman says no yet. He then asks for paper for the next hour. He writes two column in one. He places everything he knows about being human. Shabnam songs, school fight, and his shows, summers at Marina, Hakan's teaching him to sail. Shame of recent lies. In other, he writes what he knows about Damir, a bluebird fight, scare brother, and a name on hospital president. The second column is much shorter, but it carries the greater weight. Shabnam stays in two-man rooms at the villa through morning. She looks at clothes, books, and broken objects, and she once promised to repair each one, prove that her love was real, yet none excuses the lie. Excuses the lie. Hakan enters and says they need to present a united story to the police. Shabnam asks whether he still believes this is about public appearance. He says everything is about appearance when a family owns business and employ hundreds of people. Shabnam says Tuman is not a business problem. Hakan replies that RS has turned him into one. Shabnam corrects him their close choices did that. She demands the complete story of the fire. Hakan says the fire was an accident unrelated to them. Shabnam places the payment page on the desk and says she will no longer accept answers that arrive without proof. Hakan offers part of the truth. Years ago, RS and Damir's father James repaired both and managed records for one of the Kaya Marina companies. Jam discovered that several property transfers had been made with false signatures. The scheme allowed land move through empty companies before returning to Hakan's control. Hakan claims his father began the system and that he was only trying to close it without scandal. Jam copied the records of threatened to go to the police. Hakan sent Riza to discover the copies. According to Hakan, Riza entered the house while family was away, but a lamp fell during the search and started the fire. He says nobody ordered the dash. Shabnam asked why the family was inside. If Riza believed the house was empty, Hakan says the schedule changed. His answer may be true, but it still avoids his own responsibility. Shabnam asks whether Hakan's new damage saw Riza. Hakan says the child was confused and remembered nothing clearly. Insists the change identity to protect human from reason from people who might blame him for missing. Shabnam asks why he did not reunite brother after leaving RSS. Hakan says RS had entered care institution and become difficult to trace. Shabnam points out. Shabnam asks whether Hakan knew Tamir was Riza. Hakan says child was confused and remembered nothing clearly. The police question Hakan about the account book and the false adoption record. He brings powerful lawyer and answers only what the evidence already shows. The old payments are described as medical sports. Riza is called an independent employee. Sarath is presented as an unreliable man seeking money. Without Riza or a direct statement from Sarath, the case remains. Hakan is not arrested. This frustrates Aras who accepted DNA result and account book to open every locked door. The lawyer explained that moral certainty and legal proof are different. Aras wants to search Hakan's office, but Lala reminds him that breaking in would allow Hakan to present him as criminal. They need no evidence that can survive public attention and a courtroom. Hakan begins building his own public story. Through friendly new pages, he spreads the claim that a young stranger entered courtroom and repeated wealthy family with an invented brother story suggests that DNA test was arranged privately, that Aras wants money. Photographs of Aras entering the villa and fight near the marina are posted without context. People at the market begins whispering when he passes from believing him while others enjoy the scandal. Aras pretend not to care, but the old feeling of being judged returns. All his life, adults look at his anger and assume it explains his character. Now Hakan is using the same wound against him. Tuman sees the story to make the first public decision. He recorded a short video using a on phone. He says the DNA test was his choice. RS asked for nothing. Result was confirmed independently. He does not describe Shabnam or Hakan as monster. He says only that his past was hidden and that intent to learn why. Before posting, he watches the video several times. It will connect his face to the name Damir in public. He's not sure he's ready if Dennis tell him can wait. Human says Hakan is counting on his where he posted. Within an hour the story changes. People are no longer asking whether Aris invented a brother, they are asking why the Kaya family hide one. Shabnam watches the video alone when Human says Aras asks for nothing. She remembers every time Hakan describes Aras greedy or dangerous. She goes to youth home without warning. RS is repairing a broken window. He sees her and becomes tense, but he does not tell her to leave. Shibnam says he came to answer quietly. Questions are asked by the one that has lived inside him since childhood. Did Damir cry for him? Shabnam says yes for weeks. The child woke at night calling a name that sounded like Aras. She did not understand it at first. Later, Khan told her it belonged with someone who had died. Shibnam admits she began singing loudly when Tuban cried for his brother because she wanted her own voice to replace the name. Confession is painful because it is not about documents, it is about women trying to cover a child memory with love. Aras asks whether she threw away his family objects. Shabnam says Khan wanted to remove everything, but she kept the blue sweater and bed. She could not destroy the proof who demons had been. Aras says keeping objects in locked room did not protect the child they belonged to. Shabnam agrees. She asks whether Aras hates her. He says it would be easier than the truth. She cried for his brother, held him when he was afraid, and also helped erase him. Aras cannot place her in one simple box. Shabnam says she is not asking for forgiveness. She gives him the same for nurse treated Damir after the fire. Fatma Hakin. Khan told her Fatma move away, but Shabnam recently found an address in Izmir. Aras understands that this may be first independent witness outside Khan's circle. Tuman agrees to meet Aras that evening in a public park. The meeting is awkward because both have imagined it too many times. Aras being no photograph or evidence. He asks Tuman about his current life. Instead, Tuman studies him and asks why he's not telling childhood stories. Aras says he will tell them whether Tuman wants, but he needs to know the person in front of him. Tuman explains that he likes fixing engines because machines do not hide what is broken. Ara says he dislikes machines because their leaves always break when he touches them. Tuman laughs before he can stop himself. The laugh sounds familiar to Aras, but he does not say to their first real moment as brother grows from a new job, not an old memory. Tuman then asks Aras to describe their parent. Aras keep about their mother patience when making tea, their father's habit of singing, the words through song, and the small arguments that made their house feel alive. He does not present them as perfect people taken better. He says their father sometimes worked too much and their mother worried about money. Humans appreciate the ordinary details because they feel less like a legend he must inherit. RSS Tamir used to follow him everywhere and once fell into a basket while trying to copy a jump. Human smiles the become serious. He does not demand the money return. RS tells Tuman about Nurse Fatma. Tuman wants to travel to Izmir immediately, but the lawyer warned them not to approach her without protection. Hakan may also know the address. They decide to ask Fatma whether she will give a recorded statement in the presence of legal representative. August arranges the trip. Tuman insists on going. RS agrees on condition that they follow the lawyer's plan. Brother travel in the same car for the first time. Lala drives. Dennis control the map. August sits in front. RS and Tuman share the back seat. Each pretending to look outside. They argue about the window, snacks, and music within the first hour. August smiles because the argument is strangely normal. The brothers do not notice how quickly the rhythm is forming. Fatma now lives above a small trailer shop. She is cautious when she sees the group and nearly closes the door after hearing Hakan's name. Tuman shows the wooden birds. Her expression changes. She invites them inside and asks Tuman to turn his left wrist. When she sees the scare, she begins to cry. Fatma says she treated the child after the fire and wrote the original intake form. He had smoke injuries cut on the wrist and a long periods of confession. He remembered two names, Tamir and Aras. A man later arrived with papers saying the child had no living family. Fatma changed the papers because the boy kept asking for his brother. His supervisor told her the matter had been settled by important people. Soon afterwards, Fatma was transferred, and when she returned, the child was gone. Fatma identifies the man as Sarat, but she says another person waiting in the corridor and then gave orders. She never saw his full face. He rocks an expensive dark suit and heavy ring with a bird design. Tume remembers the flash of a ring in his memory. Hakan's owns and Akaya's signet ring shaped like a bird, but so did Hakan's late father. Fatma says the man's voice sounding younger than Hakan's father would have been at the time. The detail point toward Hakan, yet it is not enough for legal proof. Fatma agrees to give a statement, provides a copy of a note she hid from the official file. In some notes, she recorded that child brother might be alive because rescue worker had taken another boy from the scene. This proved information about RS existed before Shabnam adopted Tuman. Tuman asked Fatma whether Shabnam came to the hospital. Fatma says yes, she remembered a woman who sat with the child. Real stories and agreed appeared deeply concerned. Fatma never saw Shabnam threaten anyone or discuss Paul's paper. Tuman needs to hear this. It does not clear Shabnam of later choices, but it confirms her care began before possession. Fatma says the child slowly stopped using the damning name after the woman began visiting. She assumed it was trauma response. Now she wonders whether adults encouraging him to forget. Human asks if memories can be forced back. Mahatma says she is a nurse, not a specialist, but warn him not to chase memory like a missing object. The mind sometimes hides to pain to survive. He who should work with the afraid, trained professional and accept that some images may never return. On the trip home, Tuman decides to speak with the trauma counselor. Hakan later tries to present this choice as a proof that Tuman is unstable, but that plan fails because Tuman openly explains that seeking help is not weakness. The counselor sets clear limits. There will be no magical hypnosis and no promise of recording scenes. They will focus on what humans feel now, how his body reacts to smoke and lock spaces, how he can spread known facts from images created by suggestion. This careful process gives the story different from tension. Each memory is treated as uncertain until outside evidence supported. Tubers learn that healing is not the same as remembering every second. It is learning to lie without allowing the missing seconds to control him. During the first session, Tuman described the fire at the board chat. He remembers Aras saying his present name and feels safe for a moment. Then he remembers an older voice saying that other voice was gone. The concealer asks him to notice that difference between a clear memory and a fear. Tuban says the voice feels clear, but the face does not. He draws the shape of the rings he saw near the hospital. The design has two wings around the letter A. Dennis compared the drawing to a Kaya business photograph. Khan wrote a similar link during the era fire, but in later image the ring appeared in his father. The object may have passed between them. At the villa, Shabnam searches the late father's study, a room Hakan has kept locked since his death. She uses the old key hidden inside a sewing box behind a framed map of the marina. She finds a narrow compartment contained property documents, several beers, gems, handwriting, and notes suggesting false transfer. One page mentions a meeting scheduled for night before the fight. Jem planned to give a copy. Journalist named Salim Kaya. Shabnam photographs the paper, but before she can remove them, Hakan enters. She asks how she long she been searching his family room. Shabnam replies that she has spent years living in them without knowing what they contain. Hakan tells the document could destroy the company and livelihoods connected to it. Shabnam says the company survived by placing the cost on two children. Hakan tries to take her phone. Shabnam steps away and reveals that photograph already uploaded automatically into secure account. This may be a Shabnam searches the father's study room. Hakan's has kept locked inside since his death. She uses an old key hidden inside a swimming box. Frame map of marina. She finds narrow compartment. This may be bluff, but Hakan believes it. He changes his tone and says his father ordered Riza to recover Jam's copies. Hakan claims he opposed the plan but arrives too late to stop the fire. He helped Amit afterward before his guilty minded. Shabnam asked why he did protect Aras. Hakan says his father insisted the older child was dangerous because he might remember the argument with Jam. Hakan chose to save the child he could control. The confession shows a twisted occasion. Kerry did not rescue Timan only from danger. He rescued him into a life where the truth could be managed. Shabnam asks whether Hakan started the fire. He says no. She asks whether the fire was there. He refuses to answer before leaving. He wants that if the properly documents become public, the Akaya family company will collapse and hundreds of workers may lose their jobs. Shabnam understands the moral trap. Hakan built a system where exposing his crime can harm people who had no part in it. She cannot simply throw papers into streets. She needs a plan that protects employees while separating Hakan from the business. This gives a goal beyond saving a relationship with him. She asks Vegan. Noor becomes an unexpected partner in this work. She knows Hakan's financial habits, private accounts, and the people who still fears him. Shabnam does not trust her, and Noor does not forgive Shabnam's earliest threat, but not understand that Hakan vanished when they fight each other. They agree to exchange information without pretending to be friends. Noor provides copies of transfer made to Riza over many years. Shabnam provides the property documents. Together, the records made shows continue payments long after the fire. She Khan claimed that event was one Riza was being kept silent. If they find alive, the entire story may fail in the open. Martin and Asgi helps locate Journal Salim Guy. The name appeared in an old local newspaper achieved, but Salim disappeared from public work shortly after the fire. Benz joins the search because his uncle once delivered paper for the same newspaper. They find that Salim moved to a village inland and now avoids the internet. Younger friends bring a new energy to investigation. Instead of breaking into offices or confronting guards, they search public records, speak with retired workers, and compare dates. The careful work proves that truth does not belong only to the powerful characters. Small people, old recipes, and old memory ignored by everyone can change the story. Salim refused to speak when first sees them. He says Akaya destroyed his career once and can do worse now. Martin tells him that two brothers lost 17 years because adults remain afraid. Salim replies that young people believes coverage has no cost. As Gift says fear also has a cost, but someone else often pays it. Sentence reaches him. Salim finally reveals that Jem plans to give him ledger proving that property fraud. On the night of the fight, Salim receives a call telling him not to come. The voice belongs to them, but he words sounded false. Later, a package received with only one page from the ledger. Salim hid it rather than publishing because someone threatened his daughter. He still has the page. Ledger page contain a list of land transfer and a handwritten note from the if anything happened, actually knows why. The initial could mean Hakan Kaya, but Hakan claims they refer to his father, Halim Kaya. The ambiguity is useful to him. Salim also kept an old cassette recording of the threatening call. The sound is poor yet second sound voice can be heard behind him. Tuman listens, feels physical reaction. He believes the second voice is while the evidence grows. Emotional distance between us and human changes in small ways. Cayman began visiting the youth home under the excuse of helping others repairing things. RS does not expose the excuse. They fix a gate, argue about paint, and compete over who can make the younger children laugh. One child asks whether they are brothers because they make the same. Agriface Tuman says that's claim, so RS says the face prove it more clearly. Tuman throws a cloth at him. Children cheers. The moment is light, but afterward Tuman asks how many places RS lived after the fire. RS names them until Tuman asks him to stop. The list is longer than he expected. He begins to understand that his comfortable childhood was built beside at RS respected laws. Hakan sees these relationships strengthening and chooses a larger new target, the youth home. He arranges for officials to inspect the building and claims that several safety rules have been broken. August receives a notice saying the children may be moved with repair while repairs are made. The timing is true. August receives a notice saying the children may be moved while repairs are made. Timing is too perfect to be accidental. RS want to comfort Hakan, but Human stops him. He says Hakan accepts anger and know how to use it. Instead, the group organizes the replies, prepare publicly. Local workers donate materials. Jenny shares the effort online. Lala contacts a safety manager. Engineer and human uses the Khan name to demand a transparent inspection. Hakan attempts to isolate Haras, creates community support around him. The audio expert reports that sound voice on selling state is likely Hakan, although the quality is too poor for complete certainty. More importantly, the expert identifies the harbor bell in the background. Report shows that the bell rang only during emergency drills. The air and one occurred on the evening before the fight. This proves the call was made from near Akaya Marina, not from Jem Home. Hakan claims the investigators now believe Jem was forced to call Salim while being held at Marina. He may have been released later only for Rizal to search the house that night. The plan was intimidation theft, but it becomes deadly. Riza finally contacts Timon directly. He says he will speak only the child carried from the fire. Timon refuses to meet alone, but he does not tell Aras to fight because at the audio expert record sound well stage like Hakan is too poor for complete certainty. More importantly, expert identifies a harbor bell in the background. Report shows that the bell rang only during emergency drills. That year, one occurred on the evening before the fight. This proved the call was made from near Kaya Marina. The investigator now believes Jem was forced to call Salim while being held at Marina. He may have been released later, but only for Riza to search the house that night. The plan was intimidation. Riza finally contacts Human directly. He says he will speak only to the child carried from the fight. Human refuses to meet alone, but he does not tell Aras at first because he fears Aras will attack Riza. Dennis reminds him that hiding the meeting repeats family pattern. They are trying to escape. Humans call Aras and explain
Aras becomes angry, but he admits the anger is directed at Riza, not human. They agree to meet with the lawyer nearby and police and tracking location. Riza chooses an empty stone house for the far from the town. When the brother arrives, Riza appears older, more frightened than the enemy. Aras imagine Aras still wants. He sees the man who entered their home, frightened their parents, and carried them away. Human stands between them, says they came from the truth, not even. Riza confessed that Halim ordered him to recover gems. Later, Hakan knew about the plan and brought gems to Marina to force the call to sell him. Riza believed the family would remain away until morning. He entered the house, found the papers, and he had a car outside. In panic, he knocked over. Morning, he entered the house, found the papers. He had a car outside. In panic, he knocked. When the brother arrives, Riza all appears older and more frightened than enemy Aras. Imagine Aras still wants to hit him. He sees the man. Two men stands between them, says they came for truth, not revenge. Riza believed the family would remain away until morning. He entered the house, found the papers. He had a car out. In panic, he knocked over a fuel lamp in workshop. Connected to the him, the fire spread faster than expected. He tried to help, but smoke blocked the main room. He found Demir was saw near a window. Riza says Hakan arrived minutes later. Instead of calling police immediately, Hakan searched Riza bag for the ledger paper. That delay may have cost precious time. Hakan then ordered Riza to take Demi to a private hospital because the child had seen him and heard him. RS leans forward, but Human hold him back. Riza does not defend himself. He says he has live with sound of the parents inside the house. He agreed to hide Samir's identity because Halim threatened his own family. Hakan paid him to disappear. Years later, when he and RS had survived, he wanted to speak, but Hakan increased the payment and threat. Riza admits that fear became great after a while. This honest ugliness makes the confession more believable. Police move in after receiving the agreed signal, but a shot breaks a window after effort. The enter is the false wounded in the shoulder. Someone outside war to stop his treatment. RS and humans drag him beyond stone wall while officers see the shooter escapes on the motorbike, leaving no clear face. Riza survived because the bullet misses a major artery at the hospital. He gives a formal statement under protection. Hakan claimed Riza invented the story to avoid his own punishment. The case is still not finished, but the chain now as living witness. The attack changes Tuman's view of Hakan. Until now, part of him believe Hakan's wrong act belonged to the past. A modern attempt to silence Riza suggests that danger is active. Shabnam tells person to pull the trigger. Hakan may have ordered someone else. Shabnam asked Tuman to believe she had no part in it. He says believe she wants to violence to stop, but belief will require her to act. She must give the property documents to the liar and make a full statement about the false adoption. Shabnam fear prison and public shame. Humans tell her coverage mean accepting a cost, not only regret. Shabnam spent one night deciding. In the morning, she goes to pro sector with lawyer. She hands over the documents, payment page, and copies of communication with Hakan. After fight, she admits that she accepted false adoption papers allowed human original identity to disappear. She explained that Hakan told her all relatives were dead, but she also admitted that she stopped asking questions when she child began calling her mother. Her statement does not make her innocent. It places her on freedom at risk. When Tuman learns what she did, he does not trust to embarrass her. He sends one message: "Thank you for telling it where it matters." Shabnam cries because it is the first kind word he has given her since leaving. Hakan is called for further questioning, but before police reach the villa, he disappears. His car is found near the marina with the key inside. Some believes he fled by boat. Others think he is creating the appearance of escape while remaining close. The company account show a large transfer made hours earlier. Shabnam activated the management plan. She prepared with Noor, preventing Hakan from emptying the business completely. Employees are told that operation will continue under temporary independent control. Hakan's warning about hundreds of lost jobs does not become true. Shabnam has separated the company's survival from his personal power, taking away one of the strongest shield. Tuman returns to the villa after Hakan decided not to move back to the search were that late Halim study with police permission. RS joins him. They find the hidden compartment empty because Shabnam already removed the paper, but Tuman notice the scratches beneath the desk. A floorboard lift revealing a small metal case. Inside is an old film reel, a key, and a letter addressed to Hakan. The letter is from Halim and wants that the boy may remember the name. It says the name must remain changed until the marina record are gone. Hakan kept this letter for 17 years, perhaps a protection against his father as a reminder of secret holding family together. The film reel is taken to specialists. It contains silently security footage from the old marina office and the evening before the fire. Image is damaged but shows them being brought into a room by Riza. Hakan enters later wearing a bird-shaped ring. Halim is also present. There is no sound but the body language is clear. Jem is not there willingly. He places papers on the table. Hakan asks with his father. Halim strikes Jem. Hakan moves toward them, which suggests that he did oppose some violence. Yet when Jem tries to leave, Hakan blocks the door. The footage destroys both. Simply version of him, he was neither the only planner nor an innocent son. He resisted one part and spotted another. RS watches the footage without speaking to him and stands beside him. Both sees their father alive for the last time, frightened but seem to lower his head. RS remembers Jem as a tired man singing words. Song Tuman sees him almost as a stranger when the real and Tuman asks RS if he may watch again. On the second wing, he noticed Jem touching his chest twice and pointing toward the door. RS recognizes the gesture. The father used it to mean remember who you were when the boys were scared. Gesture was meant for nobody in the room, yet now both sons receive it through time. Later, Tuman asks Kebnam to meet in a garden. He gives her no promise of forgiveness. He asks why she never told him she kept the bird and sweater. Shabnam says they were the only things that remind her love did create him from nothing. She feared that if she saw him, they would search for a life beyond her. Tumans tell her that love held too tightly become for wearing a kind face. Shabnam accepts the word. She says she will answer every question, even if the answer makes him loyal forever. Tuman asks whether she still sees him as son. She says yes, but she is learning that being his mother does not give her ownership of his story. Tuman cannot call her mother yet, but he allows her to sit beside him. It is a beginning built on truth rather than need. Brother decides to visit the ruins of the childhood home. The site is now overgrown with only part of stone. All remaining Tumans becomes tense when smell dry wood, but he uses the breathing method from counseling. Aras does not guide him through memories. They walk separately until Tumans find the outline of the old workshop beneath fallen stone. They discover a piece of blue pants matching the wooden. But Tuman asks where the room stood. Aras point to a patch of ground near a fig tree. They sit there without speaking. After several minutes, Tuman says he wants to keep the name Tuman, but it holds the life he remembers. He also wants Tamir included in his legal record because it holds the life taken from him. Aras says both the names Aras are his. Tuman then asks Aras to tell him about the night before the fire, not the fire itself. Aras remembered their mother making bread. Jem returning late, Damir refusing to sleep until Aras promised to show him a bird's nest in the morning. Promise was never fulfilled. Tuman looks toward the fig trees and says they can find a nest. Now Aras laughs sadly and says 17 years late is still better than never. They search the branches and find a small empty nest from the previous season. Tumor takes it on carefully, then decides to leave it where it is. Something should not be carried away to prove they existed. The piece ends when the Tumor receives a voice message from Akan. He says everyone has heard the version, but nobody has asked why Jem fought H.A. rather than Hakan's full name. He claims Halim ordered the fire after learning Jem had copied the record. Hakan says he made terrible choices afterward, but he did not intend that. He asked humans to beat alone if he wants proof. Tuman chose the message to Aras immediately. This demonstrated how far he has moved from secret habitats of family. RS wants police involved. Human agree they trace the sound behind Hakan's voice and hear a repeating metal strike followed by the girl. Lala believes it come from an old floating workshop outside the main harbor. Police prepares to search the workshop, but Hakan leave before they arrive. Inside, they find another copy of property ledger and a box containing them personal watch. RS recognizes it. Hakan kept watch, perhaps as evidence, guilt or control over the past. Beneath it as recent photographs. Sarath live in an unknown room. A note says Sarath remember who gave the final order. The discovery means Hakan has either found Sarath or wants them to believe he has. Tuman says Hakan is trying to separate them by offering different pieces of truth. Aras replies that it will not work if they continue sharing everything. At the counseling session that followed, Tuman described the voice message and the old runes. Clearly, money emerges, but he treats it carefully. He recalls working in the private hospital and seeing a man near the door wearing the bird ring. Man says the other boy did not survive. Tuman remembered turning his face toward the wall and refusing to speak. He cannot see the man's face, but he remembers the hand resting on the bed. One finger has a fresh cut. When the Tuman later watches a Marina film, he sees a Khan cut the same finger while giving a broke glass during their argument. The detail links Khan to the hospital rooms through two separate sources. Tuman tell Aras about the memory. Aras says they should give it to the concealer and lawyer but not treat it as final proof. Tuman is surprised by his caution. RS explained that he does not want humans to carry the pressure of solving everything through our damaged childhood image. Evidence should support him, not use him. Human nods then for the first time without questioning his head. He does not react dramatically. He simply answers, I am here. The reply protects the movements from becoming another demand. Section closes with the house of false memories changing the shape. The villa no longer controls the truth. The youth home is no longer only a place of lost ruin. Childhood house is no longer to a grave. Each place now holds evidence of choices made and choices still possible. Shabnam faces the legal cost of her confession. Her Khan remains missing with Sarat location as last weapon. Lala and Danish help the brother keep their promise of openness. Noor protect the company record. Raze survive under guard. Most importantly, RS and Tuman stop treating identity as contest between the two names. Tuman places the wooden bird on the desk in his small room, writes Tuman Damir beneath it, and leave a space after the words. He knows the next part of his name will be not be choose. Hakan, Shabnam, Aras, or about it will be written by his life he builds after the life.
The next part begins with Tuman standing outside the civil record office holding an application that can restore the name Damir without removing the name Tuman. The paper appears simple, but singing it feels more difficult than opening the end result. RS wait across the street with Lala. He does not enter because Tuman asks to complete this step alone. Dennis stand closer, yet even he gives him space. Tuman reads the line asking for reason for the change. No small box can hold 17 years of stolen identity, love, fear, and survival. He finally writes the record shows both the life he was born into and life remembered. He signs Tuman Damir pauses, then adds the family name he was given at birth. When he leaves the office, RS does not ask where to short name he chooses. Tuman shows him the paper. The name joins both histories instead of allowing one to defeat the other. The official process will take time, but because the false adoption is under investigation, Tuman must give statement, submit the DNA proof, and allow the court to review all records. Reporter wait outside after someone leaked the appointment. They ask whether he has rejected the Kaya family and whether RS will demand part of the company. Tuman refuses the idea that identity is only a fight over wealth. He says a brother is not a business partner and mother is not erased by a court stamp. He adds that people who committed crimes must answer for them, but human relationship cannot be decided by headlines. His words are calm, yet his handshake after the reaches the car. Danish notices and quietly takes the paper so he does not crush them. RS faces a different pressure. Some people now treat him with sudden respect because the DNA result connects him to Kaya. Household shopkeeper who once watched him with suspicion offer favors. A man who refused him work asks whether he can arrange a meeting with company managers. RS reject every approach. They change anger him because nothing about his character is different. Lala explained that public opinion often follows power, not truth. RS says he does not want power borrowed from a name. Lala replies that refusing unfair advantage is good, but he should not reject every useful opportunity simply because it comes after pain. If the company owns something, it may owe support to the youth system that failed him, not private gift placed in his hand. This idea grows when Shabnam asks both brothers to meet the company temporary board. She proposes creating an independent fund for younger people living foster care. Part of the money would come from property profits linked to the old fraud. Oris first believes he is trying to buy forgiveness. Shabnam asks forgiveness cannot enter in the account. She wants the company to return value taken through false transfer and acknowledgement that its power helped raise a child. Tuman supports the purpose but says neither brother should control the fund alone. August legal supports former residents of care homes. Community member must share decision. RS agrees after seeing that plan will not place his face on a public campaign. The brother first joint section is not claiming wealth. It is preventing another young person from living here with no family or work or safe. Hakan watches the announcement from his hiding place. He sends separate voice message to both brother. To RS, he says Tuman has already begun using the Kaya money. Will soon forget the brother who arrived without it. To Tuman, he says RS is guiding him toward a public confession only so RS can become the honest hero of the story. Neither brother delete the message. They meet at the youth home and play them for each other. Hakan's strategy fails because they follow their promises of openness. Still, the message finds existing fair. RS worries Tuman may choose the comfort of the villa. Tuman worries RS may love the lost child more than the person she is. Sharing the message does not remove those fears, but it prevents Hakan from sharing them in secret. Tuman asks RS directly whether he would feel betrayal if Tuman returned to live with Shabnam. RS takes
time before answering. He says part of him would struggle because that house was built around the lie, but Tuman's choice is not a vote against him. Tuman asks whether Aras accepts him to call Shabnam by her first name instead of mother. Aras says no. Shabnam was present for the year's image then that her truth hurts, but denying it could create another false history. Tuman admits that he still reaches for his phone to call her when something goes wrong. He stops because anger tells him time he should not need her. Ara says anger can protect a wound, but it should not decide every relationship. Brothers began learning that loyalty can expand without becoming betrayal. Shabnam meets the man in the garden again. This time, he brings the official name application. She reads it and sees the Bhatt family name restored beside that one she gave him. For a moment, grief crosses her face. Tuman asks whether she wants him remain only a Kaya. Shabnam says the selfish part of her does. She then asks the honest part is proud that choose for himself. Humans appreciate the difference between a perfect answer and true answer. He asks whether she will help find Sarah. Shabnam promises access to every property, account, and employee connected to the account. Human wants that helping may expose more of her own guilt. She says she has stopped asking the truth to protect. The search begins with the recent photograph of Sarhat. Lala studies the wall behind him and notices a faded tile pattern. Her father once worked on hotel renovation, used similar tiles in several old summer buildings. Dennis identifies a metal bed from medical supplier that closed years ago. Martin searches auction records and finds that remaining beds were sold to an abandoned recovery center outside Bottom. The center belongs to a company indirectly controlled by Hakan. Police obtain a search order, but when they arrive, the rooms are empty. Fresh medicine container prove someone was the time. Hakan is moving Sarah just ahead of them. Aras blames the police leak and want to continue with the official. Laila finds Aras near the shore and refuses to angry simply because she loves him. She says Tumans was right about one thing. Hakan knows Aras will run towards any clue involving Sarat. Aras says Tuman had no right to use a guy, thinking as if Aras was will and ignorant. Laila says both brothers used identity as weapon because they were afraid. Aras asks why she always turned his anger into a lesson. Laila replies that she is not a mirror designed to show only the face. He likes partnership mean telling the truth when it is inconvenient. Aras sits in silence until the anger cools enough for him to fear. Dennis has a similar conversation with Tuman. She says his plan may have been safer, but he spoke as if Aras' years in care made him unable to think. Tuman denies it and remembers his exact word. Dennis says he cannot build brotherhood while using class and family habits to win arguments. Tuman admits that Hakan taught him to attack the place where another person feels weakest. The habit appears before he notices it. Dennis tells him noticing is the only first step. He must repair what he damaged. When Tuman sends Aras' message to meet the old gate, they repair together. Aras arrives after an hour. The apology short and direct. Human says he used the Akaya name to the make Aras feels less. Aras admit he dismissed Tuman caution because he feared losing control of search. He says calling Tuman Akaya was also made for deny part of his. Neither explain the apology away with stress that agree with that if another message or clue arrives, they will share it before acting. Tuman gives Aras small wrench from the youth home workshop and says he forgot it. Aras says no. Tuman carried it across town only because he needed an excuse to come. He takes it without exposing the excuse. That evening, parcel arrived for Aras. It contains Sarat with Haj and handwritten address. Tuman receive an identical parcel with a different address. Hakan expect to separate. Instead, they place both addresses on a map. One leads to a warehouse near the airport. The other leads to a hill above dry reservoir. A line drawn between them cross an old service road. Laila suggests the address are not destination endpoints pointing towards something between them. Martin checks land records and find a closed water treatment station on that road. The property belongs to the same company that own the recovery center. They give the information to a small police, then selected the precursor rather than local contact tied to Hakan. Aras and humans are told to remain away. They agree, but Hakan sends a live image of Sarah tied to chair. Beside a countdown clock, message warns that police movement will end. The old man's life brother shows the image to pro sector. Technical expert says it may be delayed rather than live, yet they cannot be sure. Aras want to enter before police. Their role is limited, drawing attention, not performing the rescue alone. Lala objects because the plan still places him in danger. Ara says Hakan asks for them and may kill Sarath if they do not disappear. Lala still tells him that choosing a risk for himself affects everyone who loves him. Tuman answered that they are not ignoring the coast, they are working the police wearing trackers. Police are time following a time plan. Danish insists on monitoring communication from the command vehicle. Stays with her and Lala. The plan shows growth. The young people remain brave, but coverage now includes preparation and trust. At the treatment station, RS Tuman enter through the front gate with their hand visible. Speaker plays a countdown clock appears on a screen. The central control room. Sarath is shown breathing heavily. A masked man orders the brother to place Riza's notebook and Marina film inside a metal box. The liar prepare harmless copies marked so police can trace them. Tuman put the copies inside the main. Then tell Aras to leave while Tuman remain her Khan's purpose because the clear he wants Tuman to believe Aras will close to safety. Aras refused to move. Tuman tells him to follow the plan to go because the police need one brother near the front signal point. Aras understands that staying may feel loyal but damage the rescue. He leaves the room, trusting Tuman's choice. The man enter and checks the box. Tuman recognizes a scar on his neck. The man is Kemal, former Akai security supervisor who disappeared after the fire. Tuman keeps him talking. He asks whether Hakan ordered the recent attack on Riza. Kemal says Hakan does not always give direct order. He describes problem and rewards the person who removes them. This laughs and stays. The masked man enters and checks the box. Tuman recognizes a scar on his neck. The man is a Kemal, former Akaya security supervisor who dispersed after her. Tuman keeps him talking. He asks whether Hakan ordered the recent attack on Riza. Kamal says Hakan does not always get direct order. Tuman drops a coin here. The follow hollow echo beneath the floor. He taps twist the signal agreed with police. Arrest reaches the front point and taps the same point pattern or by officer in the service tunnel. Kemal realizes too late that the brothers are communicating through the building. He pulls a weapon, but Tuman pushes the metal box into his arm. RSD enters after hearing the struggle, and together they force Kemal behind a control desk. They do not win easily. Kemal is stronger and Sarhat found an underground maintenance room. He is weak but alive. The countdown video was recorded earlier, yet the threat was real because medicine keeping his heart stable had been removed. A police medic treats him. Aras enters first, but Sarhat reacts to a human. He calls him Damir and then apologizes and asks which name he wants. Tuman says both are his and he used Sarhat to use Tuman for now. Sarhat nods. This small exchange shows more respect than the adults around Tuman offers for years. Sarhat asks whether his brother found each other. Ara says they are still learning how. Sarhat gives his full account in the hospital under legal protection. He worked for Halim and handled private problems. On the night before the fire, he helped bring gems to the marina because Hakan promised there would only be a conversation. Halim demanded her copied. Raja Hakan argued against striking Jem but agreed to frighten him and search the house. Later, when Hakan learned Aras had survived, Sarhat urged him to reunite them. Hakan refused. Aras asked whether Shabnam ever learned that he was alive. Sarhat hesitates. He says he sent her one anonymous letter years later before because guilt became unbearable. He does not know whether she received it. The letter includes the name of Aras' car home. Hakan may have interrupted it, but Sarhat cannot prove that. The question returns: did Shabnam truly unaware or did fear lead her to ignore a chance? Human decide not to judge before asking her. Aras is less patient. The idea that she might have known feels like a new betrayal. Shabnam comes to the hospital and sees Sarah. He apologizes for his role. She asks about the letter. Sarah describes the envelope and date. Shabnam remembers Hakan giving her a group of burned mail after a small fire in the villa office the year. He said an electrical fault caused it. She never saw Sarah's letter. Hakan may have destroyed it with his rest. Shabnam cannot prove innocence. But she does not something important. She does not demand belief. She tells RSC she has the right to doubt her because her earlier choices created the space for doubt. She offers access to all household records from that year so experts can examine the office file. RS wants a direct answer about whether she ever suspected he lies. Shabnam admits she sometimes wondered. Tillman spoke the names RS in his sleep even after the adoption. Hakan said trauma repeats meaningless sounds. Shabnam chose to believe him because searching might have threatened every new family. She did not know RS was live, but she avoided that possibility. RS says the difference matters legally, not emotionally. Shabnam expects judgment. Tillman watches two people he loves stand on opposite sides of town. He does not force them to forgive each other. He says only that next truth must be found. Another lie. Kamal begins speaking after learning Hakan has abandoned him. He admits he arranged the board shed fire and showed Triza. He claims Hakan never said the work would kill or burn. Hakan decided what evidence had to disappear, what witness had to become silent. Kamal understood the expected result. This indirect language is harder to prosecute. Kemal kept message and payments record as insurance. The prosecutor issued a stronger order for Hakan's arrest. Airports and Marines are was, yet Khan continued sending messages proving his remained close enough to observe the family. The company board votes to remove Hakan from every actor. Shabnam does not replace Tillman returns to schools and faces cruel questions. Some students call him stolen, while others joke that he has two families and should receive two sets of gifts. In the past, he would have started fight nearly does when one boy inside Shabnam Dennis stops between them, not to protect the boy but to remind Tillman that Hakan's public story needs images of him acting violently. Tillman chooses words. He says loving the woman who raised him does not make her crime acceptable, and exposing her crime does not prove her he never loved her. That complexity confuses the student who wanted a simple scandal. Tillman walks away without hitting anyone. Later, he admits to Dennis that restraint felt harder than fighting. RS visiting one of his former care homes after records show Hakan collected information there years earlier. A retired administrator remember a man asking about the rescue from the boardroom fight. The man claimed to represent distant relative but never returned. A signature in the visitor book belongs to Kamal. This confirmed that Hakan knew where RS live. He RS felt a deep rage because helps became close and then turned away. Tuman's travels to meet him. Aras says Hakan watched him grow through reports while keeping the other party. Man answered that Hakan's may have new fact, but he did not know Aras. He, the person Aras became belongs to Aras, not to the man who observed from a distance. The retired administrator gives Aras a box of old belongings left when he moved to another home. Inside are school drawings, broken toy letter Aras wrote to Demir but never sent. Human asked permission before reading the first letter written in a child. Anyone had promised that Aras will find them when he becomes strong enough. Another says Aras saw a boy station but followed him because he had the same mirror. A later letter contains anger accusing of Demir disappearing. Aras says he hated himself after wearing it. Tuman replies that
Inside, Shabnam continues speaking to Hakan as though they are still husband and wife facing a problem together. She asks what he truly wants after receiving the evidence. Hakan says they will take a boat, leave the country, and begin again where nobody knows the story. He believes human will eventually follow because children return when anger fades. Shabnam asks whether Iris would never give Iris a chance. Hakan becomes impatient and says the boy was trouble from the moment he survived. The words removed his final claim that separation was only protection. He saw a craving child as threat because that child carried the truth. Hakan did not control. Shabnam asked whether he ever loved human. Hakan says Shabnam asks whether Aras would invite him to this new family. Hakan says Aras will never accept them. Shabnam replies that he never gave Aras chance. Khan becomes impatient and says boy was trouble from the moment he survived. The words remove his final claim that separation was only protection. He saw a grieving child as a threat because that child carried a truth Hakan did not control. Shabnam asked whether he ever told Tuban. Hakan appears offended. He lists years of school meetings, hospital visits, sailing lessons, and nights spent searching when Tuban ran away. Shabnam says those acts may be love, but love becomes dangerous when used as payment for obedience. Hakan excuses her of leaving Aras language. He answered that Aras did not teach her. Losing Tuman's trust right. Hakan says trust can be rebuilt after the escape. Shabnam realized he still imagines time as a tool that makes other people tried enough to accept his version. He does not understand that human life has changed permanently. The brother reached the storehouse door. He Akan speaks about an intern ordered them to show the package to him and hold it beneath the light. Akan tells Aras to place it inside a small delivery hat and straddle 10 steps back. Aras follows exactly resisting the urge to test the door. Hakan opens the inner side and pulls in the box, find tracking but dusk mask his hand, but the listener cannot see that yet. He checks several pages and notices small differences. His suspicion rises. He tells Human that Shabnam will suffer if the original are not delivered. Human says the originals are protected by law, no threat can return them. Hakan answered that law did not raise him. Human says neither did fear. All the fear lived in the house. Below the dock, police driver reached the manual gate. The retired worker instruction work until the third turn when the rest of the wheel, forcing it may create a noise. Khan can hear. Noor remember that old maintenance will induce oil and for emergency valves. She tells the team where a small service box should be fixed on the wall. An officer finds it and uses the remaining oil. The wheel moves slowly. This delay matters because Khan has already decided the package is false. He pulls Shabnam to her feet and aims a weapon towards the door. Shabnam has freed on wrist, but she keeps the rope around it. She waits until Akan moves close. She drops her weight and pulls his off balance. Weapon strikes the floor and slides under a cabinet. Akan grabs her before she reaches the door. Aras hears the struggle through the microphone hidden in the package. He takes one step forward. Human says his name. Aras stops following their rule. Police commander ordered them to continue taking note. Entertainment calls enter through the intercom and tells Shabnam that Alif is safe. Hakan understands that his threat has failed. Shabnam hears the news and stops pretending weakness. She tells Hakan that her daughter is protected and the evidence is already beyond his reach. Only choice remaining is whether he leaves the building alive and tells the truth. Hakan says he has betrayed him. Shabnam answered that she betrayed him a year ago when she accepted a child without asking enough question. Refusing Hakan now is not betrayal. It is the first honest act in a marriage built around shared fear. Hakan pulled her towards the fear, except planning to reach a waiting boat. He does not know police are coming through lower passage. Shabnam below the dock, police driver recent human moved to the side of the building as instructed. Hakan fires once through the front door to keep them back. Shoot goes high, but sound take breaks. Humans calmly start towards the entrance. Ara says his name, returning the signal. Humans stop. Aras remind him that Shabnam is thinking and acting inside, not simply waiting to be saved. Trust may include our ability. The words are difficult for Aras because his instinct is also to charge forward. The brother told position while officer open the lower gate. Hakan reaches the rear dock with Shabnam. A small motorboat waits below. He orders her to climb down. First, Shabnam sees the beam from a police diver under the platform. She must give the team time without revealing that she pretend her feet free head still tight says she cannot manage the ladder. Hakan bends to cut the rope. Shabnam pushes the package of false evidence into water. Hakan reaches for it by instinct. The pages spread across the surface, making him choose between control of the proof and control over that hesitation is the opening of such need. Police rise from both sides of the dock. Hakan grabs Shabnam and places a broken metal tool near her neck. It bars the clear path to the boat. Tiemann steps into view despite orders, but he keeps distance. He tells Hakan that holding Shabnam will not make him a father again. Hakan says everything he did was Timon answered that if this is love, he does not want it. The sentence weakens Hagan more than the that his grip changes. Shabnam uses the movement to twist. By cutting her palm on the tool, Aras pulls her behind a spot. Post while officers surround Hakan. Hakan jumps towards the boat and starts the engine. Before police can reach time, Timon sees a loose rope wrapped near the propeller. He could pull it and is being dragged into the water. Instead, he shouts to the harbor officer who cuts the fuel line from the side platform using an emergency tool. The boat moves only a few meters before stopping. Hakan tries to swim, but tracking dust from the package glows on his hand beneath the police light. Officers pull him from the water and arrest him. Image is not grand. He is cold, exhausted, and still demanding control over who speaks. The man who managed every room now has no door he can close. Human goes first to the Shabnam. Her hand is bleeding, but the wound is not deep. He wants to embarrass her, yet anger and relief collide. Shabnam solves the uncertainty by asking whether he is hurt. It is question she asks after every childhood accident. Human says no, calls her mother, comes naturally under fear, then leaves both of them silent. Shabnam does not treat it as forgiveness. She says she is sorry she went alone. Human tells her that protecting someone by hiding danger is still control. Shabnam agrees even after rescues. The lesson remains. Aras stand near the unsure of his place in their reunion. Shabnam turns him and thanks him for helping save her. Ara says human needed her alive. The answer is honest but not warm. Shabnam accepted. She tells him Hakan admitted that he saw Aras as a problem from the moment he survived. Aras asked whether the microphone captured the words. Police confirm it did. This is not a complete confession to the fire, but it exposed the long pattern of deliberate suppression. Aras feels no victory, hearing that an adult chose to leave him alone creates a fresh variant of the old abandonment at the hospital. Shabnam receives the stitches under police guard because the prosecutor must also question her about going to Hakan's without reporting the threat. Humans outside the RSC says he is angry with her again. Aras tells him relief does not cancel anger. Tillman asks whether calling her mother was mistake. Aras says a word spoken in fear can still be true. He does not sign a paper forgiving every act. Tillman Nick notice how carefully Aras protects his relationship with Shabnam. Even though it causes him pain, he thanks him. Aras says this is what standing near each other means. Hakan is taken to a secure hospital room after swallowing sweater. He asks to speak with Tillman and refuses to answer investigators until the meeting happens. The lawyer advises Tillman that he has no duty to go. Tillman decided to wait. Khan has used urgency to control the family for years. Tillman will not enter because a demand was made. He will speak only when he has a reason for his own. This choice turned waiting into power rather than helplessness. Abrams gives a new statement before leaving the hospital. She decided the threats to Alif, the demand for evidence, and Hakan's plan to escape by boat. She also repeated statement about Arun's being trouble for a moment he survived. Investigator warned that earlier chance to go alone may be questioned. Shabnam does not ask them to hide it. She says the full sequence should alone be recorded, including her mistake. Human hears this and recognizes a real change. The old Shabnam shaped every story to preserve family image. The woman speaking now allows the truth to include her failure. In the following day, Shabnam is formally charged for her part in false adoption records and obstruction. After the fire, she is not placed in prison immediately because she cooperated under evidence and is not considered likely to flee. But the court district travel reporter described the decision as a fall from power. Shabnam refuses to issue a police statement. She says through her lawyer that she loved him and accepted unlawful papers and keep his original identity. She will answer for those actions. She does not say love should excuse them. Public recreation divides quickly. Some people call her a child thief, others call her a perfect mother who should not be punished because Tillman had a good life. Both worry and reduce the truth. Tillman reduced another short message. He says he was loved and harmed by a same person. Comfortable childhood does not make the insured legal. Veila crime does not make every loving memory fake. He asks people to stop using him as proof for simple opinions. Statement receive attention because it refuses the drama everyone expects. Tillman is no longer only the object of story. He controls how he speaks about it. Aras chooses not to make a public statement about Shabnam. Reporters accuse him of planning revenge or seeking money. He tells Lala that anything he says will be tuned into height. Side in a public fight, Lala agrees that silence can be honest when it is chosen openly. RS focuses on his legal statement about Khan's knowledge of his survival. He also asks the lawyer to ensure any property returned through the fraud case brought affected owners and youth fraud other than borrowing a private settlement for him. The decision removes Khan's claim that RS searched for wealth. Khan's lawyer attacked the marina recording. They say there was under registration and provoking and hidden microphone violated procedure. Prosecutor has other evidence, but the legal process will take months. Khan remain in custody because of kidnapping, threats, interference with witness, and risk of flights. He continues denying that he ordered the original fire. He blames Salim and Riza, saying his only crime was protecting traumatizing child after an accident. The defense tries to turn 17 years of control into one emotional mistake. Serhat testimony becomes essential. He explained that Hakan learned Aras was alive within 2 years of fire, ordered Kemal to monitor him. He also says Hakan destroyed letter, paid Rizas, and moved damaged medical record. The defense points to Serhat on crimes and year of silence. Serhat agrees that he is guilty. He does not present himself as a pure witness. He says his shame is exactly why Hakan could control him by admitting his failure before the defense revealed him. He makes the testimony stronger. Riza also agrees to testify, but his statement conflicts with Sarad about one detail. Riza says Khan told him to enter the house even after learning the family had returned. Sarad says Khan believed the house was empty. The difference creates doubt about whether Khan knowingly risked lives. Anas becomes frustrated and accuses Riza of protecting Khan. Tuman reminds him that two frightened men may remember the same night differently. They may not force fact into worry, and that feels more satisfying. Justice can still told Khan responsible for Korean concealments, kidnapping, and later violence, even if the exact fire order remains uncertain. Shabnam reaches her memories for anything that can resolve conflict. She remembers Khan returning home before the fire with a torn cuff and saying Jem's family had changed plans. If he knew they were home, he may also have known Riza would enter. She finds an old photograph from that evening showing the dawn cup and a clock in the background. The time is later than Hakan claimed he left the marina. The image cannot prove an order, but it challenges timeline. Shabnam gives it to the prosecutor without keeping a copy for leverage. Nure reviews the company phone bills and finds a call from Hakan private line to Riza's house minutes before the fight. The number alone does not reveal words, but it supports Riza's claim that Hakan communicated after learning the family was of Noor could use the evidence to demand protection from charges related to hidden accounts. Instead, she hands it over through her lawyer and accepts that her own conduct will also be examined. She tells Jimnam that escaping account system means giving up the habit of trading truth only when it buys safety. Shabnam asks why Noor is helping after everything between them. Noor says she's not helping Shabnam, she's helping at the structure that made both women compete for prizes of Hakan. Honestly, Shabnam apologizes for threatening her and using power to silence her. Noor does not forgive. Immediately, she says an apologize matter when it changes what happened next. Shabnam agrees the relationship become one of careful cooperation, not sudden friendship. This difference keeps the story believable. Timon finally visits Hakan in custody with liar present. Glass wall separates them. Hakan smiles as if Timon's return home after an argument. He asks and the Shibnam forces him to come. Timon says nobody did. He wants to understand whether Hakan can tell one truth without using it to buy love. Hakan says he always loved him. Timon answered that this may be true, then asks why Hakan kept Aras. Hakan says he feared losing Timon. Timon points out that Aras was a child, not a judge. Hakan admits he watched Aras from a distance and sometimes considered bringing him to the villa. Each time he imagined the question Aras would ask and choose silence. Tuman asks if Hakan knew the family had returned home before Riza entered. Hakan looks toward the lawyer and says he will not discuss the case. Tuman says the refusal has an answer about character even if it is not legal proof. Hakan asks whether Tuman will still call him father. Tuman says Hakan regime and that fact cannot be removed. Father, however, is not a permanent title protected from consequences. He will not use the word today. Hakan's face changes because he finally counter a bounty he cannot negotiate. Tuman leaves before Hakan dismisses him. Outside, Tuman shakes with grief. Dennis waits but does not ask what was said until he begins. He tells her that part of him wanted Hakan to offer one perfect explanation. Danny says explanation cannot change actions, but they can show whether someone is ready to repair them. Tuman says Hakan still believe love should lower the price of truth. Dennis replied that love may explain why a person fear loss, but it cannot transfer the cost to person they harm. Tuman writes the sentence in his phone because he wants to remember it when guilt returns. Aras does not visit Hakan. He says the man already occupied enough years from a distance. Instead, he visited his parents' grave with Tuman. The graves were repaired after identification records were reviewed. Tuman places the blue bird pendant between them for a moment, then take it back because Aras tells him their parents would want him to use what belongs to his life. Aras reads Jem's letter aloud. Tuman speaks to the parents he barely remembers. He says he is sorry. Memory did not keep their faces. Aras tells him memory is not a measure of love. A child's mind survive, however it could. They discuss short names again. Tuman's legal application can restore the birth name, but he worries removing a Kaya will feel like denying Shabnam. Some says Aras says the choice can wait. Tuman asks what surname their parents would want. Aras says they would want the one Tuman can carry without feeling on. Tuman decide to use both family name during the legal case they choose later. The answer is not dramatic, but it respects the fact that identity may continue changing. Shabnam received permission to visit the youth home under supervision. She does not arrive with cameras or donations. She helps clean paint from floors after a worship. Some children recognize her from the news and ask whether she stole human. Shabnam answered in simple words. She says she took part in giving him a false identity because she feared losing him. She loved him but did not something wrong. August watches to ensure that conversation remain appropriate. Shabnam does not ask the children to comfort her. The direct answer surprises Aras, who expected her to avoid the question. Aras asked why she came. Shabnam asked him and told her contribution must not buy closeness. She wanted to do one useful task that nobody would report. Aras says a single day does not repair the past. Shabnam agrees and returns to cleaning. The lack of argument affects him. He begins to see accountability as reputation, telling the truth again, respecting another boundary again, doing work without praise again. He's not ready to forgive, but he no longer sees every action from her as manipulations. Lala notices Aras become quieter after the rescue. He says everyone expects Hakan arrest to feel like an ending, but his body still wait for the next threat. Lala explains that dangers can leave before fear does. He asks whether he wants to speak with same concealer helping Tim, and Aras first refuses because he believes therapy belongs to people who cannot manage alone. Lala reminds him he told Tim not to carry every burden. Aras realizes he applies kinder rules to his brother and then to himself. He agrees to one meeting. The concealer helps Aras separate responsibility from readiness. He survived by remaining ready to run, fight, or search. Now his body treats rest as a mistake. The concealer asks what would happen if he spends one day without solving family problem. Arthur says someone might get hurt. The answer reveals how deeply childhood helplessness still controls him. He chooses a small exercise. He will allow Gus and a lawyer to handle one investigation update without checking every hour. The first attempt failed terrible, but nothing collapses. Trust become a physical skill, not only an idea. Tuman continues session 2. He speaks about guilt over loving Hakan. The concealer says attachment from the childhood does not disappear when new facts arrive. Humans can condemn action without punishing himself for every good memory. He calls Hakan, teaching him to steer a boat. Memory once felt warm, now it carries the shadow of marina crimes. The concealer suggests he does not have to decide whether the memory is good or bad. It is real moment inside a larger real story. Events began allowing mixing feeling without treating them as weakness. Youth program move into the building. Shabnam transfer arrest human organs and several young adults design and rooms. They avoid making it looks like another institution. Residents will have key private storage, shared decision meetings, and a clear complaints team and repairs the way water system. RS interviews staff and reject everyone who speaks about difficult young people as a problem to control their own histories, shape practical choices. The building become a quiet answer to Hakan's idea that protection require ownership. At the opening, reporter asked whether the project proves the Kaya have repaired their name. RS says the project does not repair a family brand, it gives young people a safe place because the observant human at that no donation cancel a crime. The fund will publish accounts and decisions so nobody can hide control. Behind generosity, Shabnam attends from back without taking the stage when camera turns toward her. She leaves the main room rather than making the day about herself. Hakan sees the opening on television in custody. He tells his lawyer the brother he are using the company to replace him. Lawyer says the company is no longer under his control. Hakan insists employee remain lawyer. Then Kamal's payment records are admitted into the case showing that Hakan used company funds for the boatshed fire attack on Nizam managers who once offended him began cooperating with investigator. Hakan's power weakens because the network around him no longer believes he can protect it. Pro sector offers Shabnam formal cooperation agreement if she gives complete testimony, return any property linked to a false transfer. Her cooperation will be considered when charges are decided. Agreement does not promise freedom. Shabnam asked Human whether accepting would like she is treating truth for a lawyer punishment. Human says the decision must be hers and her lawyers. He refuses the role of judge or rewards. Shabnam the evidence allows prosecutor to add charges related to deliberate concealment of surviving relative. Hakan liars claims he genuinely believed Haris died when the recording was made. Farhan's Fatma's note and rescue record suggests the opposite. The coming hearing will examine who knew what and when. The truth is moving toward a public room where cannot control every voice. This sets the next stage of story, not another secret chase, but a battle over testimony, records, and the meaning people place on them. Before that healing, Shabnam asked to speak with Aras alone. She says she knew forgiveness may never come. She wants to answer any questions to chooses. Aras asks why she never imagined the brother as a real child. Shabnam says thinking of him clearly would have made her decision impossible. She turned Aras into abstract and relative because it protected the life she wanted. Aras says Hakan erased him on paper while she erased him in her mind. Shabnam agrees. She apologized without adding that she cared for humans well. Aras does not forgive her, but he says the apology is finally about what happened to him, not really about fear of losing Tumen. Tumen waits outside and asks Aras how he feels. Aras says he feels ashamed and angry. Tumen says both can remain. Aras jokes that their concealer word prove of mixed emotion. Tumen replies that Aras now uses concealer language to make they laugh quietly. The exchange proves painful work has not removed their ability to be young. Brotherhood is becoming a place where grief can sit beside ordinary teasing. Dennis plan a small dinner after the youth center opening. She invites the group without reporters or company leaders. Matty cooks badly as he fixes the food. Paris brings too many chairs and August pretend not to notice young people taking over the kitchen. Shabnam is not invited because the night, including her in every event, is not punishment. It is the part of building life that does not circle one mother feeling. During dinner, Aras raises a glass of water and thanks everyone for helping him find his brother. Tuman says he also found a very annoying older man who believes age is qualification. The room laughs, then Tuman thanks Aras for searching without demanding ownership. When the answers came, Aras responded that humans thought him finding a person's different from receiving the past. Their words are brief because the relationship no longer needs a speech to prove it exists. Shabnam spent the same evening alone in that woman's old room. She packs objects that he asked to move into a storage. She finds a school paper in which young Tuman wrote that the greatest fear was being sent away. The sentence helps us understand how deeply her own fear passed into time. She writes a note saying the villa will remain unavailable if he chooses it. But he never owes her return. She does not place the note in his bag. She gives it to August and asks him to deliver it only if he believes the time is right. Even this choice is imperfect because she still relies on another person, but it shows growing respect for timing. August gives that note to Timan days later. Timan reads it and visits the villa. He does not move back. He walks through the rooms and chooses several objects. Blue sweater, family photograph from years. He remembers the wooden birds and a selling medal Hakan gave him. He keeps the medal because rejecting Hakan's crimes does not require pretending the lesson never happened. Shabnam watches without deciding what each object means. Human leaves the rest. The room become less museum of the child control and more space may redefine later. At the door, Timan asks whether Shabnam would like to have coffee. Following, she says yes without asking whether with this mean he is returning the invitation is small, voluntary, and limited. It is worth more than the grand promises she once demanded. Tumen calls her mother when he says goodbye, this time without emergency for fear. Shabnam closes the door and cries after the leaves. Her tears are not presenting as payment, they are simply the cost of pretending that motherhood continues only when the child is free to step away. Before the court hearing, Shabnam gives Tumen a notebook she kept during his first year at the villa. She warns that some pages may hurt him. The earlier eyes describe frightened child who refused food his many tables and cried for brother. Shabnam wrote that the doctors told her not to repeat the old name because they could increase confusion. On another page, she admitted feeling relief when he stopped saying Arashi. He was ashamed of that relief, even that human sees care. Selfishness living in the same handwriting. The notebook does not create a clean defense. It shows how the lie became ordinary through small daily choices rather than one single evil decision. One page described Human's first birthday at the villa. Shabnam did not know his real date, so Hakas used the date. The false documents were complete. The family celebrated success of new identity as though it was a natural birth. Human closes the notebook and says he wants his legal birth rate restored. He will not erase the birthday he remembers, but he no longer wants Hakan paperwork to decide the official day. Shabnam offers to help locate the original record. Human says the lawyer will handle it. He is not rejecting her help to punish her. He is choosing a process that does not depend on private success. Aras asks permission to read selected pages. Humans shares only section about Demir calling for him. Aras learned that his little brother once refused to sleep unless a second pillow remained beside him. Shabnam believed it was a comfort object, but Humans now thinks the empty pillow represented Aras. The detail causes Aras to cry because it proves the bond survived even when language faded. He also feels anger. Then Shabnam never asked who should have filled their spaces. Human does not defend her. He sits beside Aras until the feeling passes, giving the older brother the same presence Aras Khan promised to give him. Shabnam finds a smaller SP book among a Khan hidden hospital supplies. It belonged to the brother, mother, and was taken from the house after the fire. Hakan kept it because the note inside contained Jam's meeting schedule. Once the useful page was removed, the book became forgotten evidence. Shabnam gave it to Aras without opening the private note. Aras recognizes stains from his mother kitchen and remembers her complaining that recipes never respected the size of a real spoon. He shares the book with Human. Together they try to make one simple cake and fail badly. Their ruined cake becomes a warm new memory to try to her mother, not another courtroom object. Hakan attempted to contact her demon through an old healing code they used childhood. A postcard arrives with only interaction and numbers. Humans can record it into a request. Tell on the message says Hakan has one fact that will protect Shabnam from prison. Human shows the card to the loyal investigator. Determine it was sent before Hakan arrest and contain no location. Human does not visit. He says if Hakan has evidence that helps Shabnam, he can give it through legal channels. Refusing the private exchange is important because Khan always turned the family knowledge into door around accidentally. Dr. Rusinger signed the false adoption papers, comes forward after seeing Shabnam's public statement. He is tired and seriously says Halim's lawyer prepared the documents, can't leave her payments, and Shabnam signed without meeting any adoption official. The doctor warned that the process was illegal, but Shabnam asked only whether the child could remain with her life testimony increase the legal risk. Shabnam does not challenge it. She remember asking that question and admit that doctor account is accurate. Human is hurt again, yet appreciate that she does not attack the witness to preserve his image of her. The doctor also kept copy of damaged original medical chart. It records a possible older sibling alive at another hospital. Hakan wrote a note across the page stating that report was mistaken. This is the clearest proof so far that he knew the arrest before the adoption was completed. The chart spot the concealment charge and weakens Hakan's claim that he learned years later. Arrest stares at the handwritten Daniel. A few words on a page separated the brother from most. Their leaves smalliness of the compare with size of the damage leaves him speechless. Human asks the doctor why nobody checks Akan's treatment. The doctor says Akaya name opened door and ended questions. He believed the child would receive excellent care and told himself the result justified the method. Human replies that everyone in the story used his comfortable life as permission to stop thinking. The doctor apologized. Human says apologizes should be placed in the record with the truth not offered privately. As a way to feel lighter, the doctor agrees to testify even though doing so may expose him to prosecutions, and the adult finally accepts cost instead of leaving it with the children. Shabnam decided to sell the family yacht, the object most strongly connected to their public status and several hidden payments. Her lawyers says selling property during an investigation requires approval. She requests that approval and direct the legal proceed towards a court-controlled restitution account, not the youth fund. She does not want a charitable project to become a place where stolen value is washed into praise. Noor spots the distinction. Money links to harm must first through a transparent legal process. Only clean, independent funds sports future program. When news of sale become public, angry people gather outside the villa. Some demanded that Shabnam leaves boardroom. Others arrive to defend her and shout at Aras, blaming him for breaking a respected family. Tuman goes to the gate and asks both groups to leave. He says the court will judge crimes and the family will decide private relationship. Nobody helps him by turning his mother into either a saint or a monster. Aras stands beside him. Their shared presence prevents the crowd from using one brother against the other. We clear the road without violence. Afterward, TMS Dalaras is tired of being called the stolen child. The description is true, but if they make the crime sound like his entire identity, RS says he is also tired of being called the abandoned brother. They choose the word they want used in the youth project biography. RS describes himself as a mentor and train coordinator. Truman describes himself as a repair instructor and student. Their family story requires only a short line about why the program matters to them. They refuse to let public pain become their only qualification. August speaks with both brothers can about forgiveness before the hearing. Says court decide evidence and punishment while forgiveness belongs to a different process. Neither brother must forgive in order to heal. The neither must remain angry to prove the harm was real. Ara says people often ask whether he was forgive Shabnam as if he answer will solve her character. Human says people ask whether he still loves her as if he loves will cancel the case. August tells them they can reject both questions when the person asking only wants a simple ending. Their private feelings do not belong to the public as evidence. Lala and Dennis prepare for the hearing by reviewing the statement they may be asked to give about recent threats. The boat set fire and the mariner rescued. They agree not to memorize emotional speeches. They will describe only what they say. Here then did Lala tell us that his approach may feel cold but accurate. Facts protect the truth from claim of exaggeration. Dennis tells humans the same thing in different words. The strongest testimony does not need extra drama. Young women understand that spotting the brothers now mean helping the case remain clear, not performing loyalty for cameras. On the night before court, Shabnam sleeps in a guest room rather than Tiuman's old room. She places the blue sweater but notebook recovered medical charts on separate shelf. For here, she kept objects together as a private story, proving Tiuman belonged to her. Now each object carries its own truth and honor. She writes a list of questions she expects from her counselors, including the hardest one. If she knew the process was wrong, why did she continue? Her answer is not elegant. She wanted the child, feared loss, trusted the man who offered power, choose not to look beyond the answer that served her. She practiced saying this without asking the listener to pity her. Tillman arrived early in the morning for office coffee. He promised Shabnam is dressed for court but has not touched breakfast. He makes tea while she checks the same paper again. Their conversation stays ordinary at first. She asks whether she slept and he complains that Danny sent too many reminders. Then Shabnam asks if he wants her to avoid looking at him while she testifies to him and says no, she will listen as the person harmed and son who knows he is finally speaking. If he leaves the room, it will mean that he needs air, not that should she stop. Shabnam thanks him for explaining. A clear expectations remains the silent guesses that once ruled their relationship. RS meets them at the courthouse entrance. Shabnam offers him recovered recipe book in a protective case, but he says it belongs to both brother and asks humans to carry it. The gesture prevents another object from becoming a contest over which family is real. Shabnam tells us that Hakan's lawyer may excuse him of influencing human for many. RS says he expects it. She offered private company records that he proves he requested no payments. RS accept only though the progress. They can cooperate without pretending trust is complete, and they can protect the same young man without trying to defeat each other. Before entering Tiomas looks at the adult who shaped his life. Shabnam is walking towards responsibility while Hakan is being carried towards it by guard. Ara stands beside him without telling him what to feel. Humans understand family is not proven by who understand closest in the photograph. It is a proven by who respect the truth when the truth costs something. He takes a breath, gives Aras the recipe book to hold, walks into the courtroom by choice. The section closes on the day Hakan is brought to the court for the first major hearing. Crowds gather outside, divided between people defending the famous family and people demanding punishment. RS and humans arrive through different doors but meet inside. Shamnam comes with her liar, not beside Hakan. Noor carries the financial record, Riza and Sarat waits under protection. Fatma holds the note she preserved. Lala and Dennis sit behind the brother. Hakan enters and looks for the family arrangement at once. Gave him strength. He finds every person in a new place. Shabnam no longer stands at his side. Tuman does not lower his eyes, and RS is no longer outside the house. The first bargain took a child names to protect family. The new bargain is the opposite. Shabnam accepts the loss of status, comfort, or perhaps freedom. So the young man she calls her son can own the full truth as a